Hello? Is this thing on? Can you guys hear me? Is this working? I hope it is. Dylan Bowser, the first of the evening on all platforms. Thank you for being here. Nice to see you. Welcome to the show. Keto Burrito, nice to see you as well. Grim Jr. does not consent. Well, then don't call in. Sam Josh, good evening. Nice to see all of you. Hello, welcome to the show. We got call-ins today. Look, it's gonna be a real. No, I won't promise a chill evening, but it's gonna be a casual evening of call-ins. Okay, so it's a call-in show. You want to talk to me about whatever you like? Call in. I got some things I want to talk about too, and we'll get to that. But we do have some callers that are already lined up. But before we get to those, let me give you the instructions, right? Because a lot of people have asked me, hey, Wick, how do I call in? Well, it's an easy process, I promise. Let me give you the link. Give me a moment. So you're going to click on this link that I provide to the chat. Okay? You click that link. You accept the rules, okay? There'll be a little emoji and it'll be my face. You click on that, okay? And once you do, you'll see all these channels, okay? You're going to go to backstage. It's the topmost voice channel. You're going to jump in backstage and you're going to get in line. And when I'm ready for you, I'll pull you in and we'll talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. Literally everyone alive. Good morning, Daddy, Mr. Wick. Why are we okay? Look, I know a lot of people like the whole daddy thing. I'm not one of those people. It weirds me out. It weirds me out when a woman I'm with calls me daddy. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm not your dad. This isn't daddy daughter time, okay? Don't call me daddy. It's weird. It's weird. I'm sorry. It's not a turn on. It's not sexy. I don't want a kid. Okay? I'm not Gates here, am I? No. I want someone who's going to treat like who likes me for me, right? And I'm not a dad. I'm not your dad specifically. And it's weird that you want to call me dad. I'm not here to support you financially or emotionally or whatever, right? I don't know. It's a weird thing. Maybe it's just me. Okay? It's weird to me. Yes, it's weird to me. And I am the arbiter of what I get to consider weird. And I consider it weird. If you want to do that, by all means, you do you. Have at it. Okay? You guys can call each other daddy and mommy until the cows come home. I just think it's weird. And now all of you are doing this, okay? And I hate all of you. Conservative liberal says, I consider your YouTube title weird. What are we talking about? Okay, look, I wanted to try something. I want to see if more people click on that link with that title than click on otherwise. So for those of you who don't know, my title for my YouTube right now is Exploring Each Other's Bodies Verbally, a call-in show. Like I said, it's an experiment. I want to see if people click on it, okay? That's all it is. But speaking of, let me get our first caller of the evening. Oops. There we go.
You
Hello.
caught half a second away from doing a mic check. Like that would have been embarrassing.
All good. How you doing, man?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I know I was a little heated with you on Twitter, and I definitely want to dig into this with you, but
Sure.
I don't want to come in hyper aggro because I think we'll have a more productive, more useful, and more interesting conversation if we just actually probe each other a little bit.
Verbally probing each other. I love it. Okay. Let's
All
go.
right. So for the sake of the audience, because Wick knows what I'm talking about here, I am extremely irritated with Wick over one specific facet of the recent election. Um, And I've also been very clear that the reason I'm so upset with him is because we are harder on our allies than we are on our enemies, and I feel like I am watching an own goal take place, and it is pissing me off watching my team dunk on themselves. So that's what I want to get into here is your stance on Biden staying in the election. Now, I want to give you credit first to kind of like lay out a little groundwork so that we can do this in good faith, right? I've heard you admit that he should not have run in the first place. I've heard you admit there should have been a primary. I'm with you, man. Like you get your credit for owning it. I'm not sure where you were on those issues at the time, but I know I was of that opinion, and I'm not here to like
I
play
didn't
games
have
about.
strong feelings one way or the other at the time.
Fair enough. So like I'm not attacking you on any of that. The bone to pick, the point of contention is that he should have stayed in the race following his debate performance. And that, I guess if we want to rewind it to any given point, like should he have resigned or not resigned? Jesus, should he have dropped out of the race? After the State of the Union, I don't know. Maybe it's probably better than waiting, right? But there comes sort of a breaking point where you kind of have to admit if we don't change anything, we're losing this election. Like we are cooked.
We
And
lost this election, to be clear. Like, we lost. We followed your advice, and we lost.
no, you didn't follow my advice because my advice was don't fucking run Biden in the first place.
But then, once he was running, you said he should drop out, and he did.
Yes, and
here we
the point
are.
that I was making.
President
Well, no,
Trump.
hang on. Let's unpack it. So I know that you have a colored memory of what I was saying about this after the debate, because I've heard you accuse me of saying that I was saying he should drop out right away. Blah blah blah. No, if you go back and look at the record, you can check this on my Twitter, my friend, that I was saying immediately in the aftermath of the debate. Holy fuck, this guy is a walking zombie. What are we going to do about this? There needs to be an answer or a response or something because I'm a marginal Dem voter and you're at risk of losing me. We have to do something. And I waited for days and commented over that time. This is getting concerning, guys. It's taking too long to get some kind of a response. If like this was problem one that you had to be aware of was that Biden looks old, that people would be concerned about his mental fitness, that like these are the questions that were forefront and center in people's minds. And that if you didn't have an answer in the back pocket for it, that is fucking alarming. That is a sign that you have absolutely no plan for how to win. Because again, that was problem one. What I'm trying to get you to own up to is that Biden staying in is rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. And it does not matter
I
at what point you admit that.
I disagree. Like, look, again, in a
How
perfect
was he
world,
going to win?
hindsight
What is your
hold on, let me explain.
Make your best case for Biden winning.
Biden is a known quantity. He has a relationship with the people in the Rust Belt area, Scranton and things. He's known for being a pro-union, pro-tradesman guy, pro-working class in a lot of ways. He has a decades of political history with this, political ties with this, that Kamala simply didn't. And so while, yes, he was old, yes, that did not matter to the voter who would vote Biden, who wouldn't vote Kamala, right? The voter who would vote Biden, who sat out. Let me finish. Let me finish. Go ahead. The person who, again, who would sit at home, right, instead of going out to vote, because Biden is no longer in the race, is that person who recognizes Joe, knows he's old, he's a grandpa, right, and recognizes he may not be entirely with it, but also remembers him fondly and knows that that Biden has their back, right? They trusted him in that way, right? And what they saw, and what a lot of people saw, at least in Pennsylvania, I can't speak for Wisconsin or Michigan as much, but a lot of people, what they saw was a lot of podcasters and a lot of journos and a lot of the institutionalists kick him out when he did not want to.
This is where I want to interject just briefly, and you gave me a whole bunch of time, so I'm not trying to cut over you. But I don't want you to frame it that way, because people like me and History Boomer, who I'm sure you're familiar with from Twitter, we're normie adjacent online people, and we were saying this at the time. It's not podcasters. Everyone saw it. The Emperor had no clothes.
Okay, everyone saw he was
You
old, but not everyone
about...
thought he would drop out. Like, you are framing this as if this is something that all the Democrats wanted. No, it was deeply divisive in the Democratic Party at the time. Deeply divisive. And a lot of people were resentful with how it went down, me included. So any chance we had of staying together or winning, here's the fucking truth, right? As soon as people started pushing for it, right, and it got traction, whether he dropped out or not, we were probably cooked. We were probably done at that point.
That's the point that I'm trying to make, is that I was one of those people, and it didn't happen overnight. It cooked over the point of like 3 weeks until the Trump assassination attempt took place. And even at that point, you were sending me DMs saying, look at this picture of Trump. We're fucked.
We were.
Yeah, we're fucked.
We were.
We need to do something. We need to course correct.
No, the course. Wait, the course wasn't.
What I'm trying to get you to admit is that Biden had no path to victory anyway.
He did. There was an absolute path to victory that Biden had that Kamala simply did not. Right? There are many. We have exit polls on this, right? We have exit polls on this that show a lot of moderates just stayed home because Kamala was not, like, the reason that Biden, one of the reasons that Biden won in 2020 was he was seen by people as a moderate candidate that would stand up against ACAB, that would stand up and spoke out against the George Floyd riots and all that, right? Like, all those things, that's why he won the primary, and that contributed to getting him over the finish line to win in 2020, right? He was seen as a moderate. Whether he was or not is a different question. He was seen as that. And so you have, again, a situation where people, look, there is a group of people who do not care about age, who do not care about acuity, right? What they care about is, does this person have my back, and can I trust them? And they trusted Biden in a way they did not trust Kamala.
Okay, let's take the temperature down a minute, okay? I want to unpack something you said there.
Okay.
I think you've got a point, but I also think you're underselling something here, that people who are trying to know that someone has their back, they have broken for Trump because they look at Biden and say, this guy is no longer upstairs. Who am I voting for? Like, I trusted Biden when I voted for him 4 years ago, but today I'm voting for a husk. And all of this is on the basis of marginal voters, right? The exit polling and the analysis that I've seen has basically indicated that there's no strong reason to believe that Democrats failed to turn out their base. That the base was there, but that they lost marginal voters all over the place.
No,
and that was the problem.
True.
That
yeah,
basically they lost marginal voters on every front.
Yep.
So I'm asking you to sort of look at yourself and think about is, how many of those marginal voters stayed home versus how many broke for Trump? And I think there's a valid question here to say, people who stayed home, you would have had a similar problem with Biden, because people would have been like, I have a choice between a fascist and a corpse. And I was on the verge of not voting. Okay? Like, you've seen how engaged I've been with all of this, and I was at the point where I was almost about to say, I don't care anymore.
Well, again, right? Like, we can just go back and forth with these things. I know people who actually stayed home because Biden was no longer the ticket. Because, again, the way it was handled, right? And we would have a different conversation. We would be having an entirely different conversation if, after the debate, Biden had simply resigned. If he had done that, right, then, okay, it was his choice. But he made it clear.
That's another.
But hold on. But he made it clear he did not want to, that he did not feel that he needed to. And the Democratic Party was split on the issue. So what happened was Nancy Pelosi, Obama, and a bunch of podcasters and journos got together to force him out. And a lot of people
about the podcasters and journos.
But they did. That's what happened.
It was the
It's
it
true.
Was the party. It was deeply divisive. You just admitted that. There were
yes, and people on podcasting class were on one side, and the voters were on the other.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do I live in fucking fantasy land where leftist journos aren't a thing? Where there weren't people who were saying, "How dare you attack Biden like that?"
Their voice was drowned out by Pod Save America, by the Young Turks, by a lot of the machine, the institutions, right?
Well, I
They
was just
forced him
about to
out.
point to that, and I was going to say, if you want to call this an institutional failure, I think that's totally valid, and I'd be far less upset with you if you said this is an institutional failure rather than saying Biden could have won. Because what I'm
He
getting at
could
is that
have.
every marginal group broke against Democrats, and you need to make a much stronger case than he would have won this one marginal group. You need to somehow come up with a way to explain how he's going to win
So
all the marginal groups.
he lost. Kamala lost. Kamala lost. Democrats lost, but Kamala specifically 2% in Pennsylvania, a little less than that in Michigan and Wisconsin, right? About 2%, right? My argument to you is that we would have made that up if Biden was in the race. Like, it wouldn't have. He would have
post
still
something to you?
lost Georgia. He would have still lost North Carolina. He would have still lost Arizona, right? But he would have won in Michigan. He would have won in Wisconsin, and he would have won in Pennsylvania. That's my argument, that the Rust Belt specifically was more pro-Biden than they were pro-Kamala.
You are willing to stake that big of a claim on we would have made a razor thin win in 3 specific states. That's your take.
Look, this was
This
always
is why
going to
I'm
be an uphill
calling this
battle.
unreasonable
This
and
wasn't always going to
indefensible.
be an uphill battle. Yes, it was always going to come down to razor wire because, again, of the headwinds of how these things. But I think Biden could have pulled it out in a way that, because of the infighting and because of the way Biden was forced out, that Kamala simply had no chance. There was zero chance of her winning.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I'm not saying that I'm thrilled with Kamala being the candidate. What I'm saying is that switching off of Biden was the smarter play. Not that any other single decision was like. I'm not even defending that decision because he shouldn't have run in the first place. But if you are on a sinking ship, you need a life raft. It doesn't mean you're not still going down in the riptide.
Up a bigger hole in the ship to make it sink faster, which is what we did.
No, bailing out of it.
We were not. That did not bail us out. It made it worse.
No. Not bail.
Again,
the water
we
out.
were in a
Bailing
bad
out of the ship,
situation.
getting
That's
lost.
true. We were in a bad situation, but like I said, we made it worse by kicking Biden out. It did not get
we made
better.
It worse by nominating Kamala, not by kicking Biden out. I don't think there's any defensible position that says that Biden would have won the election. If you look at what people were most upset about, dude, I posted about this specifically from the exit poll data. That if you looked at the most important
immigration,
group of people who actually,
the economy.
There's 6.
And what was the third one?
6, not 3. You're making a different point than I'm making. That if you look at specifically the swing voters who picked Trump, the ones that you needed to win, the ones you needed to convince, top 6 issues were inflation, the trans shit, immigration, the border, fuck Joe Biden, and the economy.
Well, so you're telling me the people who voted for Trump didn't like Joe Biden? A shocker. Yeah, but my argument here is we would have a bigger turnout, and the people who would have come out, right, would have broken for Biden. But they didn't show up because Biden wasn't on the ticket.
Lost everywhere. Marginal voters that you're saying would have turned out voted against you. They turned out and didn't vote for you.
No, the turnout was not as much as it was in 2020 for a variety of reasons.
Cope harder.
Again, we have data on this. 6% of liberals stayed home. 26% of moderates stayed home. And they stayed home in part because, again, I think there enough of them would have come out and voted for Biden to swing the election in these 3 states that are razor thin. That's true. It would have been razor thin, but we would have eked out a win. In, again, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan.
Go harder.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm just correct.
I know. I don't know what to tell you, man. You're looking at a situation where everyone you needed to win said, I will not sign up to generic Democrat who doesn't have time to define themselves properly. That is a totally fair position. You can be upset about that. I'm upset about that. But what are you supposed to do about that other than take a second to think about how you got there?
We can think about how we got there and say, yes, we should have, again, Biden should have stuck to 1 term. He shouldn't have sought re-election, but he did. We went with
Again,
it.
call it an
And when we get to
institutional
a certain,
failure.
you got to play your cards how you're dealt. But what we did is because a lot of people were very upset and angry and scared, they decided to shoot themselves in the foot, right?
Okay, do you think
When they're
Biden would
behind
have
in the
turned in
race. So they're like, oh my God,
Would Biden
we're
have-
falling behind.
here's
Bang,
a
bang,
question
bang,
for you.
bang, bang, and shot themselves in the foot like
Big
20
question
times.
for you, Wick. Big question. Do you think Biden would have turned in a better debate performance in October?
No.
I'm sorry, it would have been September, whatever. But you know,
I know
what
what you
I'm saying
mean.
here.
No. But you know what?
So
Even though Trump got shellacked in that debate, it didn't fucking matter because debates don't matter.
They do!
Ah! Okay. Then why did Trump beat Harris when Harris crushed Trump? Like, it wasn't close. Harris crushed Trump in that debate. But it didn't fucking matter, did it?
Okay, do you want an actual calm, like not yelling at each other kind of answer?
Go ahead.
So I know how much you love shitting on PodSave. I don't know if you got a chance to see the interview they did with the campaign heads.
I saw that they did it. I didn't see that. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
I'll confess, I think it was a little bit glazy. It was unserious in my opinion, especially from the PodSave guys who were very.
What do you mean unserious? Can you elaborate?
Oh, just that I think there were a few things that were said by the Kamala campaign team that were pure copium that the PodSave guys were like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, you can
listen to come on my show. We'll have a real discussion, but go ahead.
Well, but like you can listen to what they were saying, and there's some things that you can glean from it that you go, okay, that doesn't sound crazy. But then there was a couple of things where it was like, okay, I don't buy that. But the bottom line is, part of what they were saying is, if you looked at our internal polling, Kamala, when she picked up the campaign, had two problems. Number one, she started underwater everywhere thanks to Biden, and number two, she was also underwater everywhere. So our strategy was a 7-state strategy because we didn't have any other choice. Because we desperately needed to flip a couple of key states to get to the electoral vote numbers that we needed, and without doing that, it doesn't matter what the margin is in California, right? We can lose the popular vote but win the electoral vote, but we have to do it smart. That's what they claimed the strategy was. I'm willing to believe and buy that, because that's certainly what it looked like to me. That Biden was underwater everywhere, that Kamala picked up underwater everywhere, and they needed some kind of a strategy to get there. And in their defense, what they were saying is, when we had to target those 7 states. So if you look at the numbers and you compare places where we went toe to toe as best we could with Trump versus states where we like laid back and said it's going to be what it's going to be, we got absolutely demolished in New Jersey because we weren't defending ourselves. And if you look at the swing states, it was razor thin because we were fighting as hard as we could to get there.
Hold on. They feel they got demolished in Jersey. Yes, Jersey shifted.
Oh, they did.
But they won.
But what they're pointing to is that
7 states they fought in, how many did they win?
Well, no, I want to say there was like 3 or 4 states they rattled off. I want to say New Jersey and California were on that list. The point being that if you haven't you seen those charts of the partisan swing election to election?
Yeah.
Like, Democrats lost everywhere but like 6 cities.
Yeah, because a lot of people shifted right for a wide variety of reasons. Yes, but we didn't need to win everywhere. We needed to win in those 7 states, which I'm assuming are the swing states. If I had to guess the 7 states, I'd bet it's North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, right? Is that correct?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. How many of those did they win?
8, but yeah, whatever. I was counting as you were holding your fingers up.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I got pushed to talk on, right? So I was one of my hands.
No, you're good. You're good.
But
I think I
my
heard
point
8,
here
is
that's
the right list fundamentally. Yes.
Yeah, they lost every single one.
Yes,
every single one.
I said it was a glazy interview. Their defense of it was, if you compare states where we fought back versus states where we didn't, we only lost a little bit in the states where we were trying aggressively to win, and the states where we didn't try, we got knocked down.
The reason they targeted those 7 states was because they were battleground states, which means it's close, right? Which means it's almost always going to be close. Now, Georgia and North Carolina are weird because I wouldn't consider them normally to be a battleground. I could be wrong about Georgia because Georgia did go blue in 2020. That surprised me, and they've been making some headway there, right?
Well, there you go. The point is, this changes election to election, and just because you predict something's going to be a battleground doesn't mean it is. Like, on election night, I was commenting to a couple close friends of mine. Like, there's a couple of things that are rapidly changing my opinion of like how I'm reading the tea leaves we saw before the election. Like, what my prediction would have been. Like, all I need is a couple states, and this is telling me things instantly. Was how quickly Florida got called. The fact that New Jersey didn't get called early. I'm trying to remember. There was another state in New England that didn't get called early. That was really surprising. That like there were really bad signs instantly, and I, I don't know. You have to contend with that, and I don't
Yes.
think
No,
that
I am contending with
I
it
don't think
though.
I don't think that the answer to any problem ever in electoralism has been we just need to fix turnout. That's never been the issue because there are wishy-washy voters all over this middle area who have all sorts of different competing issues that are their shibboleth that's going to get them to the polls or keep them from the polls. And you're only ever trying to grab as much of that as you can. But there's a consistent core output of median voters, if you will, that are they show up to the polls, right? They're not partisan. You can count on them turning out, but you can't count on what party they're going to vote for.
Yeah, there's
And
about
if you
like
don't
what
account
15% of the electorate. You think maybe 20?
that's probably about right, but we've talked
Ish.
about this before,
Yeah.
where it's like about 30 and 30 on either side. Those aren't precise figures. I want to
Sure,
say it's
we're
like
just kind
32,
of
35,
guesstimating
but
here, but
yeah,
the concept of there is a squishy, swingy kind of there's a soft partisan, if you will, right? Who
yeah.
might vote Democrat normally, but isn't opposed to voting Republican on occasion, right?
Or people like myself who make that decision election by election.
Yeah, or
Like, admittedly, I voted for more Democrats than Republicans, but like you and I are roughly the same age, and you know what my options have mostly looked like. So, I, I don't know that you would find it that surprising that someone with the politics you've seen me to
so
have would be
yeah.
voting more Democrat than Republican.
Here's my kind of like here's my thing. Okay, real talk. There is no one reason why Kamala lost this election. There's a
No, absolutely
lot.
not.
There's a lot of different reasons that if it had gone a different way, Kamala might have won, right? Had she made some different decisions, she might have won because here's the thing, 2% in 3 states. If she could have swung that, we'd be talking about President-elect Harris, right? Right now.
That's a
But
lot of people, though.
it is a
You
lot
call
of
it one.
people, but again, it's marginal and it's eminently doable, right? This wasn't
I don't know
an
that it is.
entirely this wasn't my point here is this wasn't like a huge blowout, right? Not
I think
really, not
in my
electorally.
in outcomes, no, but in actual votes, I would argue yes. This was a complete blowout. This is an embarrassingly bad loss for
Oh,
Democrats.
it's
They really need to
embarrassing
think
and it's
about.
bad, yes, but again, the reason I'm
Look,
saying
Joe
is
Biden being on the list
what
of
I don't
issues
want
at
people
all
to do,
is not
is
promising
think
for
that
where
this
we
we
were.
had no chance, right? And because if you think you had no chance, then it wasn't your fault. Nothing you could have done. It just the universe was against you. And I think that
No,
that's a
that's
defeatist
why we
mindset.
challenge each other, and that's why I'm saying that
Mm.
it is fine that you're getting on board with the correct opinion, which is that Biden should never have run in the first fucking place. That the entire look, I understand that you're not going to be as aggressive about this as I am, but if you're willing to say that Biden shouldn't have run at all, then you're willing to admit on some level that the person to blame is Biden and his inner circle who convinced him that he should have stayed in the first place. And I'm not trying to get you to bite that bullet, but you understand the point I'm making here.
I
That if you're
understand the
willing to
point you're
own that,
making.
if you're
Everyone
willing
deserves,
to own
including
that,
me.
then don't make this thing about whether or not Biden stays in like this deciding factor. We're all trying to
I
compete
think
in
it
the
was.
in the space, and I think the key takeaway is that we need to be challenging each other, and we need to be having conversations like this, and we need to be opening up the space for the pod save bros to have a little bit more purchase when it comes to that upfront conversation, because I feel betrayed by the Democratic Party on 2 fronts this year. Number one, I moved to a state where I am no longer allowed to vote in primaries because I'm registered independent. And when I lived in Virginia, I can tell you, I voted in a lot more Democratic primaries than Republican primaries because I was of the opinion that I wanted to vote in the election where I felt like my vote would potentially make the difference between seeing candidates I could tolerate or like actually supported versus candidates that I detested. If I was looking at the tea leaves and saying, "Hey, look, this Republican who's a complete shitheel is going to win his primary," I'm not going to line up to vote against him. I'm going to join the Dems and I'm going to say, "Let's get the most electable candidate." So I'm pissed off on that front. And the other front that I'm pissed off on is that Democrats didn't hold a primary. And I think you need to be honest about this. There's a difference between something being true in spirit and something being true in substance. And to say that Democrats held a primary is true in substance, but it's not true in spirit, and you know that.
So what
And
happens?
I
What
feel
happens in
betrayed because
2028?
people didn't get it. And let's not forget, Florida didn't hold a Democratic primary at all.
Okay. Take that up with Florida. They should have. Yes. But here's the deal, right? What happens? Here's my concern, right? And this is why I think we've shot ourselves in the foot, not just in this election, but in all elections going forward for the foreseeable future. What happens in 2028? We have a primary. It's a full service. No one can denounce it, right? They have a primary. We have a debate. Okay, there's a debate.
Say no one can denounce it, but I think you're forgetting 2016 happened, where a lot of us, again, from my perspective, one of the core reasons that I was a Bernie booster at the time was I completely fucking opposed the idea that I am given one choice. Fuck you. Because I don't like Hillary Clinton. I don't want Hillary Clinton on any level. And the only other option I'm being given is Bernie Sanders.
Take it up with people who, again, the 2016 was an open primary.
Call it an institutional failure, Wick.
What?
You think
what
there was zero
failed here?
You think there was zero institutional pressure on either of those primaries for people to not register?
People don't have to give in to institutional pressure, and sometimes if you give in to institutional pressure, it's your fault. It's your fault for giving in to that institutional pressure. That's on you, not the institution. You could say no. You could say no and run anyway. Bernie did.
Sure, but how are you?
So why are you mad at the institution and not the people, the cucks who cucked out?
Because how are you supposed to blame any of them individually?
Easy. Oh, you cucked out to the institution instead of standing up for what you believed in. Easy to blame them. How are you
ever going to know that? That's private information, unless you're a mind reader. I don't know if you developed telepathy when I wasn't looking, but
man,
I don't know
like
how
this
you
is my problem.
We're
going to have a 2028 primary. It'll be open, but if you don't like the candidate, you will force the guy out and use external pressures to try to do that by doing all this chicanery, right? This is my issue. It's going to be a fight that we have in perpetuity because once the primary is decided and the votes are cast, we should hold that sacrosanct.
Okay, but I would like you to consider for a second that you are basically saying, yeah, the elections in banana republics are something you totally need to respect. Like, yeah, it was a one-party election where there wasn't anybody but the one candidate to vote for, but you have to respect that. Give yourself more credit than this, Wick. I give you more credit than this. There's a reason I'm yelling at you. I don't think you defend the elections in banana republics.
I don't see a primary election as a banana republic.
Primary that we're supposed to respect the sanctity of, but it wasn't a fucking primary, and we both know that.
This is, again, I think we have set ourselves up not just to fail in 2024 like we did, but to fail in perpetuity because of this. Because there will always be the people who don't like the candidate and will seek to undermine it.
No, because there's unique circumstances that cause Biden to get forced out, and his fucking age is one of them. You might say, oh, there was this one marginal voter who didn't care about that. What I'm telling you is that there is a reason that the institutions moved against him, and it specifically has to do with his unique unelectability.
I just will never accept some podcast guy throwing out my vote. I just won't.
Oh, I'm a podcast guy. I'm cooler than I thought I was.
You aren't the podcast guy. I'm talking about Pod Save America.
Yeah, but I'm the one who's making the argument against you.
I know, because you've been
Argue with John Favreau
when
he's on your show. I'm the one who's screaming at you about you not thinking about how other people think.
I do think about that, but they're wrong, and I am correct.
Again,
That's just
your
true.
argument-
Like, I don't
your
care.
argument
Okay,
for
I
why
don't
Biden
care
should
what
have stayed in-
some Russian simp says about Putin, right? They
Ooh, I'm a
and what
Russian
they
simp
feel
now,
about
too.
Putin. It doesn't matter what they think. They're wrong. Hello?
I'm in awe of you defending banana republics. I'm in awe of you making an affirmative argument that you think a razor thin possibility that is in no way backed up by the data that we saw is a argument for why everyone else was wrong. Meanwhile, my argument to you wasn't that replacing him was quote unquote the correct answer. My argument is essentially the same one that Nate Silver made, which is that replacing him increases the variance. And if you are walking down a path of probability that says you're about to lose this, increasing your variance can only improve your chances of winning. It doesn't mean that you're gonna suddenly magically pull a rabbit out of your hat. It just means let's not go down with the fucking ship.
There were other ways to increase the variancy that weren't shooting ourselves in the foot. I agree. We needed
give me
change,
one. Give me
but
something
that
that
change
Biden's
was
team...
not better. It's
No,
like the French
no,
Revolution. Yes, the aristocracy was corrupt, but the French Revolution was not better.
Biden's team would have done that would have moved the needle the way you're describing. Give me a concrete answer to... We watched him sit on his fucking hands for a month after he shat his pants on live TV.
What do you mean sat on his
Give me an
hands?
answer what his team would have done.
Again, this kind of like rewriting of history. He was busy fighting against people who were trying to push him out. He had divided his attention because he had to fight, right? He had to fight the people who were trying to push him out rather than focus on Trump.
Because
you basically kind of just stabbed him in the back. And he had to deal with that.
What did I say earlier? It was the number one thing they needed to be prepared for, and they seemingly had no answer. If your response to this is, oh, they have to divide their attention, then you're admitting that they had no fucking plan for when he looks senile on TV. Okay?
My thing is that was the plan, right? They were trying to get him on. There was a group of people who were trying to get him on air early so that they could try to force him out against the will of the primary voter.
The will of the primary voter. We love banana republics on this channel.
I just don't know why you hate voters so much. But anyway.
Hey, have a real election and I'll respect the will of the voter.
It's only real if you agree with the results, though, right?
No, it's only real if the consensus opinion is that it isn't a fucking sham.
The consensus
opinion on the Democratic primary this year is that it was a fucking sham.
The consensus of opinion by, again, the podcasting class.
Dude, the median fucking voter disagrees with you.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. I don't know where are you getting this from?
Again, this idea that all the Democratic voters thought it was a sham when it happened is just not.
I didn't say the Democratic voters. I said the median voter. I said 2/3 of the population agrees that it's just that 35% of them are laughing at you, and the rest of us are screaming at you that you needed to do something.
Well, you know what? Next time we lose, tell you what, when your candidate gets elected, right, in a primary, I'll be just like, we're going to just force him out and disregard your vote. And we'll see how you like it and what you think of that. And if you feel betrayed. We'll see.
Oh, Godwick. I swear to God, you are accidentally proving my point about people on the left not being able to conceptualize other people's minds.
Wait, what do you mean? I see what you are saying. I understand what you're saying. I simply disagree with you on the facts of the matter and your conclusions based on that.
The exact fucking
That's not me not being able to understand.
I feel the same way
not being able to conceptualize. I get what you're saying. I'm saying your reasoning is flawed, and here's why.
The reasoning from why I feel the way I feel betrayed.
So do I.
You feel betrayed. We both feel betrayed.
Well, okay. How do you think someone feels? They vote in a primary, and then their guy wins. And then later on, some guy tells them, oh, you know what? Your guy did bad in a debate, so we fucked him over and we pushed him out.
Watching him shit his pants on a debate stage, sit on his ass for a month, do nothing about it, and then walk away with a middle finger in the air to his fucking successor. How do you think it feels that that's the alternative that I had to Trump? Was your fucking party?
Man, look. I don't like how the Democrats run things. I wish they would listen to me more often. If they listened to me, we wouldn't be having these problems. But they don't listen to me. That's the issue, right? That's the issue.
No, I don't think it is, because you would have had Biden stay in and you would have lost anyway. And then I'd be able to shit all over you for your stupid
but what
decision.
happens? What happens in the world where that doesn't happen? Where Biden stays in and he wins?
What fucking world is that,
See,
Wick?
I thought so. You can't engage with the concept or the hypothetical or the conceptual idea that Biden would have won.
What I'm trying to express to you is that anybody at the time who was saying that Biden should drop out was basically looking at the likelihood that he could potentially pull this off and was saying, we're looking at like 90 to 10 in the real world, because this is razor thin and he is a terrible candidate and he is not even defending himself. Like, he is just going to get erased. Anywhere he gets challenged, he's going to lose.
I know that's what
the
you
numbers
guys told
don't have to
yourself.
reflect it on the day of, but we had a month for him to try to do something about it and he didn't do a fucking thing.
He did a lot, but he was...
In that month, what the fuck did he do?
Okay, so he went on, what, it wasn't 60 Minutes. He had a few interviews that he did, and he was mostly what he was doing, he was messaging within the Democratic Party saying, hey, don't push me out. That was where most of his energy was focused on.
There's no evidence that the base didn't turn out. We know that the base of Democrats were there. The issue wasn't the base Democrats, so campaigning to Democrats was a fucking retarded move.
Again, Biden's draw wasn't just to the base, it was beyond the base. That's why he was able to win in 2020.
He was able
Kamala's
to
draw was not
about COVID, and they didn't particularly like Trump.
Kamala's draw was
I don't know what
kind
of copium you're on, man. Are you unaware
these are just
that...
this is bared out. Well, let me ask you just simply. Kamala, did she appeal to the median voter?
Of course not.
Of course not. Okay, great. So,
did I ever suggest that she should be the fucking candidate? I remember yelling at you about this because when I said Biden needed to get out, you said if Biden gets out, it has to be Harris.
It has
so
to,
I guess if your
for a
fucking
whole
judgment
host
it
of
was
reasons.
bad. What are you doing, man? These were your recommendations.
When I said Kamala, like, that was a warning to you not to force Biden out. You understand that, right? Like, hey, if you force Biden out, it has to be Kamala. Therefore, please don't force Biden out.
And you probably should have fucking said it that way instead of saying, I'm defending that if anybody is going to be my president, it has to be the one who was on the ticket that I voted for.
It has to be the one I voted for the primary that won the primary. Yes, that's otherwise you were throwing out my vote, and you're no better than a January 6th. This isn't a hard concept, right? You have to.
No, it's not. The difference between what happened in the Democratic Party this year and January 6th,
make you respect my vote if I have to, right?
If you are making a moral comparison between January 6th and what happened in the Democratic primary this year, you're fucking retarded.
January 6th is far worse for a lot of reasons, right? But not even 75. It was the same concept.
Dude, 85% of the population has no say in who their candidates are. And admittedly, yes, a lot of that percentage doesn't vote, but some of them are people who voted in the other primary. So I think it's kind of a
when you vote in a primary and your candidate loses, does that mean you have no say? Does that mean you didn't have a say?
I don't know, because we didn't have a primary, and even if we had, I wasn't allowed to vote in it.
You think the 2016 primary was illegitimate too, even though there was a primary there. So I don't know what to tell you.
Well, no, that's different. That's different. My issue with 2016 is that it was an institutional failure. It was that the cowards didn't run. I've gritted my teeth on that one, and I voted for Bernie. Actually, no, I take that back. I voted for Bernie in good conscience because my primary was early enough in the calendar. He did some shit that really turned my stomach, that turned me off of him.
I voted for Bernie in the 2016 primary. Sucks that he didn't win. I didn't think Hillary Clinton could win. I was right, but you know what? I voted for Clinton in the general anyway because that's what we do, right? I voted for Obama in 2008. He won. I was excited, and we all just voted for Obama anyway, right?
Well, you're a Democrat.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is you need to win people who aren't Democrats.
Okay.
This is why I'm getting angry at you for being like, I love Biden, because it's fine that you like him, but other people think he's a pile of garbage. for a variety of different reasons. And like dying on this hill is not the hill you want to die on if you want to win.
Here's the
I
thing.
think you want to win.
Again,
I
right?
wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think you were smarter than this, Wick.
But I don't think you understand how much I value my right to vote. Right? I don't think you understand how much I value when I put a say in, and my say should be respected.
God damn it, Wick! Theory of mind! Do you think I value my ability to vote?
You have the same ability I did in this primary to cast a vote.
No, I didn't!
In 2024. Wait.
No, I did not!
Unless you live in like Florida or one of the states that didn't, I don't know where you live. But again, if your argument is my state didn't hold a primary and I think they should have, I'm with you, buddy. Yes, absolutely. And the fact that they didn't, you should be raising hell with your local DNC operatives and ask them why.
No,
right?
I'm raising hell with you because this is your party's bullshit to fix.
I'm not defending my party when they do shitty things. When they do something shitty, I don't defend them.
To try to fix it.
I don't. They're not a stripper. They don't love me, right? Like I'm not beholden to them. I am a Democrat because they share my values, and I'm a Democrat because I think that more often than not, they're better than the alternatives out there, right? I don't like them necessarily. I don't like a lot of what's going on with them. But here's the deal, right? When it comes
vote suppression.
Look, again, I will cop to everything the DNC does that's bad, and they shouldn't do it. I'm with you. Let's reform it. Let's change it. Let's make it better. Let's get rid of super delegates. The whole 9 yards. I'm with you. But here's the deal. When you have a set of rules, you play by those rules, and you get a result, that result should be honored.
Yes,
it was
you're
not
absolutely right.
In this
and
case.
I think you're failing to read the DNC charter because it's absolutely in the charter that the selection of the presidential nomination takes place at the convention from the delegates. Biden decided to drop out because of external pressure. If he wanted to stay in and write it to the delegates, he could have. Again, put your blame where it belongs.
Where does it belong, in your opinion?
You think Biden... Okay, let me buy your worldview for a minute. You think Biden had this magic razor-thin path to victory, and you think that it was
more likely. I think it was more likely than Kamala.
Shut up! You said it was a giant mistake for him to drop out. He fucking dropped out. So doesn't that mean that Biden has a problem of character, that he didn't see the same thing you saw?
Oh, yeah, I think less of Biden now than I did before. Yes, absolutely.
Can you understand why I'm getting a little irritated with you sucking his balls constantly and saying that he was so great?
Sucking his balls? This is not me sucking his balls. If anything, it's sucking my own balls because I can't. It's real simple. I went to the polling place.
You went to the polls and cast a ballot for a candidate who shat the bed.
My guy got the most votes, and then
a
lot of people decided, no, we don't care about that.
Your guy shat the bed.
And they pressured him out.
Your guy shat the bed.
And I am mad at Biden for dropping out. He should not have, right? From a moral perspective, he should not have, right? I don't think I think he should have stood up to the bullies in his own party, but he didn't, and that's a flaw in his character and a black mark on his reputation. Absolutely. I think less of him today than I did, right? Before he did that. That's true. That's true. But that does not mean, right, that I'm sucking his balls. Because I think if he had stayed in, could have won. Do I think he 100% would have? Probably. I don't know, right? We can't read the future like this. But I think he had a better path to victory than Kamala did.
How do I put this? I'm not going to disagree with a single word of what you said. What I'm going to disagree with you on is that he had a path to victory. Actually, I guess there's the...
That is the disagreement that we have, yes.
I agree with basically everything you said, right? I'm even willing to grant you Biden may have had a better path to victory than Kamala. Right? I'm not... Again, I'm not here to defend Harris. That is certainly not... I didn't want her for a candidate on any level. But once she was the consensus pick, it was like, it's better than Biden. I can get behind it. It's better than Trump. I can get behind it. Okay, good enough. And for a marginal voter, for me, that's I guess the best I can hope for when nobody fucking listens to me.
I mean, look, principles, buddy, and you are my buddy. Look, we yell, but I love you, man.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it was fun. I
yeah,
appreciate being able to vent a little bit.
of
I know you
course,
know I had it
always.
pent up, and you need to hear this shit because the
I,
idea that I hear. Here's the thing that if I can end on
I
one
do
thing,
have a
because I
line,
know
is
I'm
what I'm
about to get.
saying, though. So
I was gonna say I'm
yeah,
about to
yeah.
get a jettison. So if I can end on one thought, I understand that you are saying you hear me, but you think I'm wrong. And what I'm telling you is, if you're even approaching it that way, then you don't understand me because I'm saying that I feel just as violated as you do, and you're basically trying to explain away disenfranchisement by saying it's cool when you're disenfranchised, but it's not fine when I am. I don't think you're understanding my point on that. And I think the larger thing would be if we are both feeling that frustrated, hear me on my criticism of Biden. You don't have to agree, but hear me because I don't think he was somebody who was ever going to get you to a victory, and I felt completely disenfranchised too. So replacing him was at least better than watching the ship sink.
We good?
You good?
Okay. Well,
Thank
have
you,
a great
sir. I
day.
appreciate the
Of
outro.
course. And gang, we'll see you when we see you. Oh man, spicy ones today. Okay. Like I put in my description, this could be chill. Apparently not. So here we are. Let's bring in. I'm gonna try to get the order you guys came in. Forgive me if I mess it up. Hey, you're live.
Hey, first of all, I think the guy's issue was the fact that he didn't actually read his own the new state's charter because each state is different on their voting system. From what I was understanding, this thing is if you go to that state, you cannot be special and be like, oh, I'm going to do independent and choose whichever one I want to do. You have to actually register as a Democrat to be able to get your say inside the DNC, which makes sense since DNC is basically a private company. Um,
No,
second,
but to be clear, there are some states who I think do it better than other states, right? Like I think that there are states that host primaries and hold primaries that are better than the way other people. Like I don't like caucus states. I know that there's a few that do it in like a caucus style. I don't like that at all. I think it should be an up and down vote. But you know, different
but
strokes.
but that's the problem with us being technically 50 countries inside one country because it's literally what the word state means is country.
Yeah.
Um, so like that's the issue with that. Yeah, you already said the thing that I wanted, which was like super delegates are a problem. I do know here in Ohio, at least, a bunch of people were upset. They're like, "Well, I would have voted for Joe Biden, but I'm not going to vote for Kamala because the super delegate selected her. It should have been actually whoever had the highest the voting thing that wasn't the vice president option." Which makes sense if you because she never ran, so therefore their argument is basically, well, she didn't run, so therefore she shouldn't get selected because he didn't actually officially get selected as a vice president yet. So therefore, or not vice president, as president for the Democrats, so therefore his VP pick shouldn't work either.
So the issue was, right, like I know that the convention hadn't been held yet, but at the end of the day, when people go to a primary, and this is how it's worked since like the 80s, right? So it hasn't always been this way, but it's been this way for my entire voting life, right? That you go in, you put your the name, there's several choices. At least in Pennsylvania, there was more than one choice. It wasn't just Biden on that ballot. There was a few, right? You vote, and if your guy gets the most votes, your guy wins, and they are the presumptive nominee. And I know that there's some technical stuff about delegates and things like that. But
Tech, oh, wait.
the average median voter who votes in these things understands that if their guy wins the most votes, the delegates will vote in accordance with their wishes. Yeah? You with me so far?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So when that doesn't happen, right? When they put their name, right? Or put their ballot in the ballot box, and because of some esoteric Byzantine technicality, the guy who gets the most votes doesn't get selected, then they feel robbed, they feel cheated, they feel disenfranchised. And while it might technically have been in the rules that they could do like the hokey pokey and turn themselves about and a different result would get, this isn't how we understand politics to work. Much like a lot of people, right? The question, it was a legal question, the Eastman memo on January 6th, right? Could this actually work technically legally? Even if it did, even if it was technically legal, even if we grant that, it would have still disenfranchised people and been immoral, right?
Correct.
So that's my argument when it comes to the Biden push out, right? Is that, well, technically they did nothing illegal. There was nothing illegal done.
No, I mean technically,
disenfranchised.
how the DNC actually works is actually they don't even have to do with what the people voted for. They can just do whatever the super delegates select as, because
Yeah, but that's never happened.
happened, or no, something like that happened way back in the day, but I think that was with the Whig Party. So
Oh, we're
it's not
talking like the
DNC.
60s, sure. Yeah, like in the 60s, when they have, yeah, but like in modern history, I can't think of an example.
Yeah. Now, if you want a really clusterfuck conversation, go look into what happens if someone dies before they get selected as president. I looked that up. There's apparently 5 different lawyers gave 5 different perspectives.
I don't know, right? Like, I'd have to look into it, but that
What one of them argued is if it happens before the delegates announce who it is, technically the delegates get to select.
that would be a nightmare scenario, honestly.
Yeah, that's a weird scenario. But anyways, also to add to it, I disagree with your thing about debates working.
Okay.
Debates do actually work.
I think it depends on the context. I think yes, in context. Like, I think that a debate on a small scale about it could absolutely influence people. I think that debates sometimes can influence people. I would never say otherwise. But my issue specifically is with presidential debates. I don't think, at least, I don't think they're outcome determinative. I just don't.
So the issue with debates is there's just 2 parts with presidential debates. One is, of course, you got your presidential sides. They got their base, okay, and if their bases hold tight, then debate doesn't move much. But if there is if there's like this whatever election has the majority of people are actually not connected with the bases, but instead are quote unquote independent voters, then your debate can actually push and sway. Also, to add to it, what debate was it? It was like the 50s or 60s. Someone said you're a liberal, and the guy said, "Yeah, I'm a liberal." And when he said that, his voting poll just dropped. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, no, I'm sure over the course of history you can find onesies and twosies where, at least in the presidential elections, that they've mattered. My point here is that, well, yes, I think it has the potential to matter. I don't think that this one did. Right? Can we concede that at least the Trump Harris debate did not matter?
Sure. But I will say though the Biden Trump one did matter.
Well, he doesn't like being embarrassed on national TV. I wouldn't either.
Right. Yeah. No, that's about it on that. I just, want to jump in for those parts. Also, to it, I also wanted to be someone that's not going to be yelling at you on mic for 30 minutes. Okay, I want to at least have.
He's allowed to yell at me. Everyone's allowed to yell at me a little, as long as I can yell back. It's when I can't yell back and they can yell that I have a problem. Does that make sense?
I have a problem when someone is telling someone is quote yelling, and then also add to it telling the other person to shut up. That's like the point where I'd be like,
I'm okay with it, man. It's all good.
Okay,
but I appreciate the defense anyway.
Welcome.
Anything else?
Can you give me $1 million besides that? No.
If I had a spare $1 million, I would, but I don't. So
all right. Have a good night or a good day. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, I don't mind contention, right? Depends. Let me clarify that. It depends. do I know you? Right? Or are you just some stranger yelling at me? 2, the spirit of the contention, I think, is important. Are you being honest? I think PvP is an honest guy. What about Rancor? Oh, depends on the Rancor. Okay. We got that out of our system, gang. It's still Collins, by the way. I saw a few of you back there. Where'd you all go? Where'd you all go? Like, this is a call-in day. Well, while we wait for Collins, I'll show you guys some tweets. You guys want to look at some tweets while we wait for Collins? Here, give me a second. Parallax says, I had something to add and you moved on. You can't skip the line, man. I had people waiting in line. There's an order to these things. There is an order to this. Okay, let me show you some fun little tweets. Okay, do you guys know what the wife jack means? The like, you know what a soy jack is? It's like those little soy jacks you see on Twitter and in memes and things like that. Well, they made a wife jack. It's just some lady. Okay, that has made some people very, very angry. Okay, Nick Fuentes is furious that the wife jack memes exist as a thing. He's furious. He's made some comments to the effect. This isn't entirely about the wife jack, but it's related to it. So I'll show you guys what I mean here. And is the interaction. Well, let's get to the interaction, okay? So here's Nick Fuentes, okay? Being a wife guy is still gay, actually. Andrew Tate chimes in, this is an objective fact. Anyone who's experienced with women isn't enamored by them. OMG, my wife said so. Anyway, I was having a beer and then my wife said, gay. Fellas in the chat, is it gay to love your wife? Is that gay? Is it gay? Is being nice to women gay now? Is that what this is? Like, are we just calling everyone gay who likes women? What is going on? Right? What is happening in right-wing spaces right now? I'm not a right-winger, so please explain. Achilles says, I wish Andrew Tate and Fuentes could just admit how much they love men so they didn't have to spend so much time hating women. I just don't understand. Like, someone, like, I'm asking you sincerely, explain. Explain why liking women is gay. Explain why being nice to women is gay. I don't get it. Let's bring on our next caller. Hello, you're live.
Hello, what's up, Wick?
Oh,
So I have a question for you, dog. It's real quick. You know, you've been seeing me do all this painting and all this greatness. You know what I'm saying?
It's looking good, man. Your army and
Thank
your models, they look fantastic.
So my question is, when you gonna paint your Adeptus Sororitas so I could come over there and give you beans?
So here's the deal.
Mhm.
A lot of the money I'd saved up to get this stuff, my computer broke. I had to get a new computer.
Ah,
Yeah, I know.
damn.
That's like $2,000 that I had to just funnel into that instead. I was gonna use it to buy an army, right? And get that painted up and getting it done. And I started it, right? Like, I got a squad of novitiates. And I was gonna, like, slowly over time kind of build it up until I got a solid army going. But man, life happens, man, and my computer wouldn't turn on one day, and I need it to make. It's my job, right? So
Facts. Yeah, I understand that. Well, there's a
priorities.
Christmas box coming out. I think the sisters is in there. Maybe you know,
I
Big
might have to
Dad's in
treat
here.
myself like maybe if
Or
my
I might get it for you. You never know.
ooh
Ooh.
Santa coming in.
Ah,
dropping some presents in my bag.
You know what I'm saying? I'm in a given mood, so it could definitely possibly happen. So let's we keep an ear out for that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay. I'm hearing you. I'm with you. Okay.
All right, because I support anybody that wants to get into 40K, man.
Look, I'm more than willing, right? I have I have a couple fantasy armies, right? From back in the day, I used to play 8th edition. I didn't like Age of Sigmar when they switched over, so I didn't switch over. But I still have
Mhm,
the armies. I have a bunch of undead, Tomb Kings, and I have some chaos that I play. And I don't know. I used to do 40K when I was like 16 or 18 or whatever.
mhm.
I sold my army off. Like it was horribly painted. But yeah.
And it's a pain in the ass to strip that shit, so I understand. I get it. I get it. No, but yeah, most definitely. I was interested. I was like, man, why hasn't Wick sent nothing back, bro? I want to see his army. I want to see
I
where
know.
he's at.
I apologize that it wasn't reciprocal. Okay, you sent me a bunch of pics and I didn't send any back, and I apologize. But that's
I
what's
was
up,
hurt.
man. It just again,
Hey,
it's
baby
money, man.
steps. Baby steps. I got you. I got you.
Okay,
All right, that's all I came on for. That's it.
no problem. I'll talk to
All
you
right,
later,
brother.
buddy. Bye bye.
Deuces.
What a nice gentleman. Okay, yeah, and a lot of people are like, why don't you do more 40K stuff? Because it's expensive. That's why. But yeah, um. what are you guys saying? What's going on here? Wick TV, do you ever make fun of your friends? All the time. Look, that's one of the way you know that I'm your friend, is if I'm making fun of you. If I never make fun of you, we're probably not friends. That's just how it is. If I'm never making fun of you, it's probably because I'm not comfortable with you. Not everyone's a cup of tea, right? Like I know a lot of people don't like that dynamic, and I've been friends with a few people who've told me they don't like that dynamic, and so I respect their wishes. But I don't know. It's just everything. It's something I've always been. It's just how I interact, right? If I'm comfortable with you, then we rag on each other. Okay. But Rabid Wombat says if your spouse isn't yelling at you, they probably don't even really care. I don't know that there. Okay, there's lines here. Okay, uh, to a point, yes, like passion, right, is a thing, and if there never any passionate moments, there's a problem. But yeah, oh, Parallax, look at you. It's nice to see you smile. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. It's been I look, I don't know if a lot of you guys started following me after my tooth incident, right? Um I smile all the time. It's just I'm a smiley guy. And it's been sad that I couldn't smile as much, but now that my tooth is fixed, I can smile more. It's a call-in show, by the way. You guys can call in. Yell at me. Yes. Oh my god, my tooth is fixed. Yes. To the doubters and the haters, should never have doubted me. Should have never doubted me. Never doubt a Wick. Never bet against a Wick when it comes to honesty. Okay. Achilles says, "Oh my God, this is a look. Is this going to be a bunch of dudes telling me my I have a pretty smile? Is this what the stream is now? Look, I appreciate you. I do. That's a little gay. It's okay. It's allowed. But Colin used to have a different meaning. What do you mean? Yeah, you used to use your phone, but no, Colin's always meant like just jump in the stream and jump backstage and we'll talk. I'll give you guys a link again in case you don't have it. It's funny because in my Discord they were arguing about Ukraine and stuff. Everyone was arguing all sorts of things, and I'm like, call in, right? Call in and talk to me about it. I'd love to argue about some Ukraine, right? Nothing. I don't know. Ugh, everyone have good Thanksgiving plans going on? Here. Give me a second. I got another tweet for you. Okay, while we wait. Shoeboot says the only thing I disagree with you about is Biden, and that's sort of been done at this point. Fair enough, right? So here we go. Let's look at this beauty of a tweet. I'm tempted to make this a whole panel topic. Okay. I wish there was a way for girls who like getting randomly groped, like me, to signal that we like getting randomly groped and will react positively to that instead of with vicious hostility. I have so many thoughts. I don't even know where to begin with this. I don't even know where to begin. Okay? Look, if that's what you like, by all means. But here's the deal. There are places you can go where that's a thing. There are communities, there are clubs. If that's what you want to do, you can do that. But this should not be normalized in any way, shape, or form as just a standard thing. There should not be like grope zones or grope apparel, okay? And look, I'll approve these. Everyone's using the term groped now, and my automod and Twitch is catching it. Okay. So Nair Sock says, I usually wear my I like being groped by strangers t-shirt. Here's the deal. If I was going around, okay, and I was walking through the street or whatever, and there was a woman who says, I grope, like, wearing a shirt that said, grope me. I want a stranger to grope me. And that's what the shirt said. I'm not doing it. Even if I want to grope them, right? Even if I'm like, oh, they're pretty, and, oh, they say it's okay on their shirt. No. It's a trap, first of all. It's never a good idea. There's no way that it leads to good outcomes, right? In almost no scenario will this be a good thing. Like, people say they want something until they get it. Yes. People are saying that's super dangerous. Yes. Yes. A guy who is willing to grope someone in public just because they're wearing a shirt is probably a dangerous dude. I don't know. Like, for some reason, women don't have this stigma, right? Maybe I'm dropping some knowledge on you. I'm not sure. I think I've told this story before. I could be wrong though. I've been groped several times by women, unasked for, uninvited. It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for women to just grab you, grab your butt, grab your dick, put their hands on you. It is socially acceptable in a way that it never has been for men, right? I wasn't wearing a Please Grope Me shirt either. I remember the first time I ever got groped by a woman. I was 14 years old. Yeah. In Shoney's. It was like a buffet place. I don't know if you know what a Shoney's is. Okay. I was in a buffet line for Shoney's, just getting some buffet. 14 years old. And suddenly, I got a hand on my ass. Okay. Grabbing. Okay. Grabbing that shit. I look around and there's some lady. I don't know how old she was. She wasn't like super old. She was probably 20. I don't know. Right? It's just, God, just grab my ass. I didn't know what to do, so I just went back to the table and ate my food. I don't know what was going on, right? Like, what do you even do in that situation? And I'm laughing because it was, like, in hindsight, it's funny, but it's not funny at the same time. Does that make sense? The first time I got groped, I think I was 14 or 15, around that age, right? I don't. Oh, we got another caller. Let's bring in a caller. Thank God. Okay. Well, you'll hear more groping stories later, but let's go to the call. Hello, you're live. Hi. You're muted if you're trying to talk. It's on your end.
Hello.
Oh, hello. We can hear you. What's up?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Cool.
You're yeah.
Okay.
What do you got?
Oh, I think I'm hearing. Can you hear me on echo, or is this
If you are hearing an echo, mute the stream. So if
okay?
yeah, if you're watching the
Yep, yep.
stream, just mute the stream
Cool.
so you won't hear it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts because I know you ran a panel recently on DEI, and it's a bit off topic compared to election, but
Sure.
I'm curious because I'm thinking about the implications on the election for these sorts of initiatives that the Democrats support. And there does seem to be implicit support um, in the way that Kamala refused to even acknowledge or to disavow many of these initiatives. What do you think the path should be going forward? And so that's my first point. And secondly, I am someone who works most of the year out of California and unfortunately see the impacts of DEI um, up close, seeing just how prevalent
Can
it
you give
is.
us an example of the impacts of DEI up close? Can you
Well, I mean,
just so we
I
understand
was
what
a
you're saying?
DEI hire. I was a diversity hire. I was at college. I was studying an engineering degree, and one of the largest, I'm not going to say which one, but one of the largest engineering companies in the world based in California contacted my university and said that they wanted to hire graduates and they were only wanting to um, interview women. And so that's how my details were sent to them, and I ended up working for them. So I essentially got a job I didn't even apply for at one of the top companies in the world.
Wow.
And things like that happen all the time. I would say 9 times out of the 10, because I'm a woman in engineering, when I go to conferences or networking events, 9 times out of 10, I meet a recruiter. The first thing they'll say to me is, the company has quotas, they have diversity targets. This role is, on paper, it's an open role, but in reality, they'll only be hiring women for it. So you'll be a
Yeah.
shoo-in if we put you forth.
Yeah.
That's another example. And I mean, there's other ways too, but I mean, diversity hiring, I think, is the most pernicious just because it does impact people day to day. Certainly for me, it changed the course of my life, and I'm sure
It positively
those who
in
missed
your
out.
case though, right? Like it worked for
Oh
you.
yeah, oh absolutely. Like it's been extremely profitable for me. I had my degree. I got a women's only scholarship to study engineering, so I ended up graduating with no debt. I've gotten 3 trips overseas to Europe to go to conferences, women's only grants to go to
You know
conferences.
what?
So
We need streamer
it's hugely.
DEI, okay? We need streamer
Oh
DEI
yeah,
to,
yeah,
so I can
hugely.
get
And
like shipped out to Europe and things like that. And
oh, you can do things like that too. I mean, there's I mean, I can only talk about being a woman, but I'm sure that there are other such programs for, if you're a person of color, or if you're
I just
LGBT, or
I'm none of
whatever
those
it is
things.
that
I'm the
these.
most normal of
I mean,
normal. I don't even have anxiety, okay? Right? Like I'm like the most white
yeah,
normal cis hetero guy. Like I don't qualify for shit,
red flag.
right?
And that's the problem too, is I think the Democrats failed to acknowledge, well, firstly, they deny these programs exist, which is just fundamentally untrue. Everybody, I mean, I'm not going to say throughout the country, but as I said, I spend most of the year in California, and every mid to large size company has these programs in, whether it be diversity hiring, or at the more senior levels, they'll be looking at the board composition, they'll be looking um, at tenure, and all those sorts of things. I think are even more. There's even more pressure to produce diverse results, as they say. When I was working in a very large company too, I know that one of the managers was saying they actually had their bonuses tied to diversity hiring, so how well they could, diversify their team. That was part of their KPI, their key performance indicator, that they had to achieve
Yeah,
throughout the year. So there's
I got you.
huge problems, and I think that's just the Democrats just haven't really quite grappled with the fact that there is anti-male white sentiment, and that it does very much impact, certainly
I don't
within
disagree.
some cities.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
to answer to I you asked me a question like way back in,
Mm,
right, and so I want to answer
sorry.
your question,
Rant.
okay, before we get
Yeah.
too far into this. That you're absolutely right that we need to address it because it is a problem and it continues to be a problem, and not just electorally. We are taking hits that we don't need to because we
Yes.
either refuse to admit it's happened and it's happening, or B, try to justify it. And I don't think these are justifiable things. I don't think they're working, right? I don't think that they're doing what we ostensibly set out to do with these types of programs. And I think they are causing a lot of real pain and problems. And they are, at the end of the day, discriminatory towards certain groups. And that's bad. We should get rid of that. We should stop that. I think the Democrats should take a stand against it. And luckily, there are a lot of companies, there are a lot of institutions, and a lot of academic areas where they are moving out their DEI programs. Right? This is something that is happening. It needs to happen more, and it needs to happen quicker. And people need to take a public stand against it. I'm with you there. Second thing, though, right? Like I do worry that there, how to phrase this, that it is the fact that DEI exists is used to excuse other things, right? Misogyny, racism. Like they use it and try to paint everything as a DEI. Like if someone gets a job and they're black, DEI hire. And I think that that's pernicious. Does that make sense?
But do you think that's just a natural response to the fact that these programs are so prevalent? The fact that companies are engaged. I mean, I've been in rooms where they've said, we're only going to hire a woman for this role. We're only going to hire, a black person for this role. And they'll just filter out all the other resumes. They won't even look at them. So if that's the practice, and that seems to be fairly common, wouldn't it wouldn't it be normal that people would then look to those that do get hired with some degree of suspicion?
That doesn't make it right. Just because it's natural doesn't
It
make it
doesn't make it
right.
right, but it's
And that's
natural.
well, that's what I'm
If you're
holding to
saying
the
a
standard. Like I don't
yeah,
care if it's a natural response. It's still wrong. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's my point there. $5 from Portland is burning to say this. Beyond Republican crying, what are the negative consequences of DEI that you think you're seeing in the world?
I mean, discrimination. I think you like. I don't even know how this is a question. It's discrimination, plain and simple.
Yeah, it's a thing. If you say we are only hiring X for a role and X is an identifying like group, there are cases where I'm actually okay with it, right? Like I don't think well, let's ask. Do you think that a strip club should be forced to hire men just to make sure that there's diversity?
No, no,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. We're,
So
we're
it'd be
talking about
okay.
jobs that
It'd be okay for a strip club to say, "Hey, we're only hiring women." Yeah?
yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think there are certain jobs in certain companies which I think it's perfectly okay to say, "Hey, we're only hiring this for the role." Right? I don't
I
think
think
that
if you have to
is
do it secretly, then I think that indicates that something is amiss, because the reality is that the 99% of jobs, someone's gender has literally no impact whatsoever. Um, and the fact that it's so readily accepted, I mean, it's readily accepted within the Democrats. The fact that Joe Biden said that he was selecting a black woman or for VP, or that he was selecting a black woman for the Supreme Court. It's becoming increasingly acceptable within certain circles, and I know you disagree with it, and that's
yeah.
great. But the problem is that a large segment of the Democrat base is very much in favor of these programs, and they use these kind of mental gymnastics to try and justify why discrimination. They call it positive discrimination, which is, to me, is an oxymoron. Like, how can you say discrimination is ever a positive thing? But they live on a different planet, so I guess in their mind somehow this is justifiable.
Well, I can't speak to them. Like I can't say. I think that to steelman the argument, I might say that they would argue that there are real systemic issues, and that in order to combat these issues, they've tried to implement programs to make sure that the groups that have historically and traditionally felt the most pain feel less pain, right? I don't think that in most cases it's coming from a place of malice. I think that they are actually trying to solve a problem. Uh, I just don't think it's working. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think they're trying to fight historical oppression with present day oppression. We're not living in the 1950s where women or these groups are denied access to these industries. They're very much encouraged and enabled access to these industries. The notion that they somehow need diversity hiring initiatives in addition to all the other advantages they have, to me,
Well,
is
hold on.
completely
What
ludicrous.
other advantages do you think they have? Like women. Let's use women
Um,
as you're a woman. What
okay.
advantages do you
So
have over
as I said,
me? Right.
I got a women's only scholarship to study engineering in the US. There are still four times the number of scholarships that are designed for women only, compared to those that are specifically for men. So certainly that's a huge advantage to have in terms of accessibility. When you go to conferences, a lot of conferences these days will mandate that a certain percentage of the panel will have to be female, or will have to be from a diverse background. It's no longer acceptable to have an all male panel, even though um, those people may happen to be the best
How
speakers.
many
You,
how
you
many
can't put
panels
that on
so
them.
you go to conferences all the time for your
Yes,
field. How many panels
yeah.
have no men on them?
Well, say I work in engineering, so that would be quite
Yeah.
rare.
Well, that
That
that would be my
my
point, though,
field,
right? That steelman
yeah.
is that men
But
are having no trouble getting on these panels.
that's not that's not a factor of discrimination. That's more. I mean, that's not a consequence of discrimination. That's a consequence of the fact that only 19% of graduates are women. Within my field, so naturally, you wouldn't expect to see many um, panels that are all female. Um, and nor should you. I don't want a panel that's being selected entirely on the basis of sex. I think that's completely ridiculous. Um, it makes a mockery of what it is that we're there to do, which is to learn and to broaden our understanding of the area. Um, So that's another common thing, as I said, also too, that sending people, grants, overseas grants for attendance at conferences, also very common. Training programs, I've seen a lot of the large companies will have certification programs that are specifically for people from diverse backgrounds. I've also seen, and this is probably the most egregious example. I've actually worked at a company where they had a graduate program. They couldn't get enough women to meet their desired quota. So what they
How
did, so it
much?
was a graduate
What's the
program.
quota? Like how much? How much we talking? We're talking like 10%, 20%, 50%.
And well, that's the other thing too. A lot of these companies are under immense pressure to produce 50-50 because we're kind of a lot of these groups won't say it, but what they really do want is equality of outcome. They think that any form of they see any form of disparity as discrimination. They don't believe that men and
Sure.
women
Is it?
could
Well, let me
potentially be
hold
different.
on. Let me ask you this specifically. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry, but I'm
Sure,
just
no,
trying to
no.
kind of figure out where we are at. So you mentioned that like, in your field, there's only like what, I think 19% of you
About 19%. Yeah.
around, right? Um,
Hmm.
do you think that the people who are in charge of like producing engineers, right? Like so academia, etc.
Hmm.
Would it be improper for them to be like, "Hey, why aren't women graduating more? Let's look into ways to fix that and try to make sure that it's more than 19%." Is there anything fundamentally conceptually wrong with that way
Hmm.
of thinking?
Oh no, no, I have no objection to that, and there are a lot of programs, at high schools which are designed to encourage young girls to enter the field. But um, the problem with a lot of these progressives is they're not willing to accept the decisions that women make. If women do decide that they prefer nursing over engineering, then they're not prepared to accept that as a valid choice. They have to somehow either guilt women into pursuing STEM, or they have to create these diversity hiring initiatives, which
Hmm.
unfortunately they do hire unqualified women into these roles. I've seen it firsthand where women who have no engineering degrees, have no experience whatsoever, have been put into engineering
Hold
roles
on. Your claim is
in
that
order
they've.
to.
I just want to make sure that I'm getting your claim right. Your claim
Yeah.
is that these companies are hiring engineers who
Hmm.
are women who aren't
Yes.
actually engineers.
Yes. I mean, and I've actually got evidence of this. I've got a job ad, and this is in Australia, but this is one of the largest American companies, and you can actually look under minimum requirements. It
Can
says
you
women
link me that?
only. I can. Yes.
Thank you.
I'll have to find it, but yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah. If you don't got it on your fingertips, I get it, right? But
I
I
don't
was
have it on
just.
my fingertips.
Yeah.
But basically this company, and I don't want to kind of, because I did work for them, so I don't want to say, but yeah, they had a graduate program. They couldn't meet their quota because women obviously don't graduate in high enough numbers. So they had to create a separate. So for the same role, they had to create a separate entry program where they would bring in women who didn't have. And it's the same role. They just took away the engineering, the degree requirement, and the experience requirement. And my friend's actually working in the company at the moment, and they've taken on 20 new women, and he has to spend a lot of his day having to essentially babysit.
Man,
And
having to
again,
spend your day
this is a
around 20
company that
women, terrible.
every year, yeah, yeah,
Very
it's
quick, ask a pertinent question that I want to ask you.
yeah,
W- and I'll just read what she says. What does Luna
sure.
think about a clinic only hiring female OBGYNs that advertises that they're only hiring female providers because their customers prefer female providers?
Hmm.
Is that DEI?
No.
It seems
It
reasonable,
could
right?
potentially be if they're hiring purely, if this clinic says we're only going to hire female clinicians. Yeah, it could be. I think as a consumer you do have the choice. I think if you choose a female OBGYN, that's
So
entirely your choice.
what's the
But our
problem if
clinic
if
says,
if if companies observe the fact that if they have
mhm.
more women, they get more money, right? They sell more product, or they get more contracts. What's the difference?
I mean, well, firstly, it's against the law. You're not allowed to hire on the basis of race or gender or religious affiliation. Like it is just fundamentally against the law. And then um, even the premise I don't agree with. I mean, this
Hmm.
idea that somehow hiring female engineers or I don't know exactly how that would be profitable. I mean, I guess in terms of marketing, for PR purposes, maybe it helps in some ways, but for the most part, as I said, they are um, lowering standards. They're doing a disservice to the women who are in the industry. Women like myself who have actually gone through a 4-year engineering degree. The fact that I have to actually say that because people are wondering when they meet me, um, it is problematic. I don't think that it actually does anything to really further the cause. I actually and just going back to my original point, I think it's doing harm to the Democrat Party because
I don't disagree with that, right? I don't disagree with the
they
premise.
themselves are now
Yeah.
doing it in how they select their candidates, which is, I mean, it is
It's not good.
it is endorsement of these programs.
Yes, I think that again, I'm with you. In an ideal world, what we should have is someone who is whoever it is that's the best for the job. Just happens to be that. But there is, and we do have to recognize that there is discrimination that still exists in the world, right? Like we haven't solved sexism,
I
we
mean,
haven't
people can
solved
say this and they
racism.
never have to provide any evidence. Like I say, looking at my experience or looking at other people's experience, where does the discrimination lie? Because all I see is the fact that two groups of people have chosen to do different things. There's a disparity there, but I
Here's
don't know
I'll give you
that
an
disparity
example
is
if you want.
necessarily due to discrimination.
Here, I'll
Sorry.
give you an example of how people treat women differently that I think is negative. I'll use this space as an example. Okay, if I have a woman on the show, and I have them on regularly, I will hear whispers, I will hear rumors that, oh, she's just flirting with Wick. They don't see them as valid. They don't see them as someone who actually has something to say. Because they're a woman, they're seen as, oh, they're using their womanhood to get something, right? And I think that that does not happen with men in this space. And I think that that is a form of discrimination.
We can talk about streaming, but I'm talking about the corporate world, which is
Fair enough.
very
I'm just
very
using
different.
that as an example because
Right.
that's just how, like, that's what I'm in,
Yes.
right? That's what I'm doing, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I mean, I understand your point, but I guess for me, if we're going to have these programs, which I am vehemently opposed to,
Mm.
I would like to at least have some evidence that there is discrimination in the first place. If you ask a progressive, what discrimination do what evidence do they have that these outcomes are due to discrimination? They never provide any. They can never point to they do what you do is point to an anecdotes or things like that, and that's fine, but that's not actual evidence. If we're going to have these
What would you
programs,
accept as evidence?
well, I mean, I would need to see evidence that there was systemic um discrimination or hiring bias against women
So
within I,
if we could demonstrate
yeah.
that uh if you had two applications in a company, one a man, one a
Hmm.
woman, that they were more likely to hire the man on average, would that be evidence?
If there were, well, I've seen the opposite evidence, but if there
I'm just
was
asking hypotheticals here. I'm just
irrefutable,
trying to get what
yeah, of course.
level you would
If there
accept
was
as
if
evidence.
there were,
That's
if there
all.
was irrefutable, I mean, I don't know that I would necessarily support these programs because I don't think that would be the right way to address the problem. I think hiring unqualified individuals in order to rectify, supposed discrimination. I don't know that that's the best redress, but uh, I would be a little bit more sympathetic to the argument. Um, yeah.
Okay.
At the moment, I'm opposed to it on principle, but I'm also opposed to it simply by the fact that there is no actual discrimination or systemic discrimination
You know what?
that is within this. In fact, I would say the systemic discrimination is against white men, unfortunately.
How? Okay, give me evidence of that. How am I discriminated against?
So for all the things that I have obtained, all those advantages, they come at the cost of someone else. They come at the cost of the person who didn't get the job, who didn't get the grant to attend that program, who didn't get the invite to sit on that panel, who didn't get the opportunity to uh, produce a publication. All of those things that I've gotten, well, I shouldn't say all of them because it makes me sound completely incompetent, but I would say a vast number of them are due to the fact that I'm female. In fact, when I was at college, I don't want to dox myself, but I have a male name, a very masculine, like John or Mark or Luke, or a very
Sure, sure, sure,
masculine
sure.
name.
Yeah, yeah.
And even before I graduated, I was having recruiters, I was having career counselors telling me, you need to make sure on your CV that that it's known that you're female. You need to say Miss. Um, you need to, um, uh, you need to indicate that you've been involved in women's, um, uh, you know, communities, that sort of thing, just to indicate that, to let them know that you're female, because that's going to be the way that you're going to get a job.
Okay. Well,
So, yeah, from the very outset, I guess I knew that this is how things work.
no, I
And
like I said, I don't. I guess just it. I would love to have you on like a panel where we could have this specific discussion. I have people who are pro DEI to talk to you, but I'm not pro DEI. I'm just not. So it's hard
yeah,
to like
I'm
I'm
not
like, yeah,
blaming
no,
you.
you're right. So
It's not you. I'm not angry at you. I don't want to give that impression.
why not? Why aren't you
It's
angry at me?
more.
Is this another way you're discriminating against me? You refuse to be angry at a white man? What's going on?
It's just more that, I think in terms of the outcome of the election, I do think the fact that the Democrats haven't really addressed. There is support for these programs, whether they say it or not. They are the ones that are, um, enabling these sorts of programs, and I do think that it has done them harm. And if they don't address it, if they don't renounce these programs, I think it's going to do them harm in the future.
I don't disagree. Luna
Mm.
Cat, thank you for calling in. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
giving your stories, and
Cool.
I'll reach out and we'll see what we can do about a
Okay,
panel. Okay.
awesome. Great. Thanks.
Okay. Have a great
Thanks.
day.
Bye. You too.
I don't know. It's just one of those things where like I don't have the information at my fingertips. I was trying to get kind of like an idea of what the evidentiary line is, because I hear this a lot about a lot of topics, right? They'll say, well, if I could see evidence that this is a case, then I might change my mind. But when you poke at it, right, and you ask, well, okay, what evidence would you like? It's always more than exists, right? If you have video evidence, they need a written confession. If they have a written confession, they need video evidence, right? It's one of those things. I don't know, man. I don't know. Joe Lewis says, Wick, you are a toxic person. Why am I a toxic person? What about that conversation was me being toxic? Seriously, serious question. Why? Like, what about that conversation that I just had was me being toxic? The strip club question? What was toxic about that? I was trying to get a situation where we would be okay, and everyone would probably be okay with a gender requirement in hiring. The one that came to mind. Yeah, I knew what I was doing. I was given the first thing that came to my mind. I was just curious. Strip clubs, yes. Strip clubs came to my mind. We were just talking about groping, remember? It didn't. The conversation didn't fall out of a coconut tree. Wix just got male strippers on the mind. Here, look. I went. With my girlfriend at the time to a male strip show, a Chip and Dale's performance. Girlfriend invited me. I was like, okay, we'll go. We'll check it out. I don't know. Like, if anyone tells you that men go crazy at strip clubs and the women are not like those, I felt like those men were in danger. Like, those men were in danger. I thought they were going to be torn to shreds, right? Like, by horny women. It was crazy. It was a Chippendales performance thing. I don't know the details. It was like 15 years ago, man. I don't know. Frozen Knight says the amount of groping and worse at them is insane and would never. Yeah, it was like strip clubs, and I've only been to like 2 strip clubs ever. They had no touch rules, right? There was an etiquette, there was a decorum. Okay. Oh man, that was none of that. None of that existed at this show. Okay, it was, man. Those women are crazy. Okay, dangerous. Women are dangerous, okay? When they get horny, they get dangerous, okay? Look. Men get arrested for the way women behave. Yes. True. True. Grim Jr. says, you remember your example about groping? I feel like that is the reason that you felt that way at this male strip club. Women seem not to have this stigma about touching people and it not being okay. I mean, yeah, I'm sure the fact that I don't like random strangers touching me did play into it. Yes, you're correct. But I'm just saying, I'm also letting you know that if you have a situation, right, and like women, hold on, women are held to a different standard than men when it comes to this. Can we agree? Hrundo says, hey, is there some secret to getting into your Discord? You gotta click my face. You gotta click the rules. There should be a rules section. You go to that rules section, you accept that rules, click my face. Click my face, you'll see the rest of the server, and I'll pull you in, right? You jump backstage, and I'll pull you in. I saw this SL guy earlier. They're more than welcome to come back, and I'll pull them in. I'm just trying to do one at a time, for now at least. It's working for other people, Hurundo. I don't know what you're telling me. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's possible it's broken, but I mean, we had a guy join just earlier today. Femboy IHOP, I need to get my eggs scrambled. Is that you, Joe Lewis? Okay. Look, I don't judge. Whatever floats your boat. Whatever butters your biscuit. Okay. I keep getting oh, am I getting? Hold on, give me a second. People are having troubles getting in. Why are they having troubles getting in? Moment, please. Tech support. SL, I saw you join backstage. Like you're able to. You're obviously able to, SL. Just jump backstage. Anyway, let's pull in Cody's calling in again. Let's see what he has to say and while these guys figure it out. Okay, you're back. Hi.
All right, give me once. Hey, all right. So first of all, I had sent you a message while you were talking with her, trying to figure out what she meant by DEI. If she meant by the DEI initiative or the legal DEI. Because in the United States, 1960s, we created the DEI to prevent when basically KKK people and stuff like that were preventing black people and women from working, and that was that. And then in the 2010s, towards the was when the DEI initiative was created, which was a corporate slogan thing to hope to get more people to join the workforce and to be, we can get this type of people to buy our products because we're getting more of them to work for us. Okay, so did I just throw you with too much information?
I mean, no, I mean, you gave me the information. Okay.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out which one she meant.
You have to ask her.
Yeah, I know. That's what I sent you a message on the little thing, but whatever else. But by the time you saw, probably saw it. Second of all, Andrew Tate and gayness. Okay. Andrew Tate believes that basically, if you do not come inside a girl without a condom, you are gay. That is an actual fucking thing. The reason why I know this is because I
Can you repeat that?
If you don't come inside, basically, if you don't come inside a girl without a condom, basically,
So if you wear condoms are gay, is what he's saying.
Condoms are gay. Coming on top of her is gay. Basically, you must come inside her to be a heterosexual.
Does it have to be in the vagina?
Yes. Because
Can't
the whole point of being a man is you have
butt?
to be. The whole point of being a man is to reproduce. And that's also the reason why he
What
has
if you
10
pull
plus
out?
children. You can't pull out. You have to put it.
Gang, I don't know. I might be gay. If this is the criteria, I might.
This
I
is
might
the reason
very
why
well
he
be
has
gay.
10 plus children. Okay, he has 10 that he at least knows of. And the only reason why I know this shit is because I was dumb, and for an RPG called Scion, I decided to build a Andrew Tate knockoff to drive the storyteller insane, the DM insane, because he was at the time period he was an Andrew Tate fan, and I kept quoting Andrew Tate's to make him actually hate Andrew Tate.
I would have kicked you out of my table, man. Like, what are you doing? Right? Like, I don't know. That's weird. But no, I get you. Okay.
Well, you're a child of a god, so like, it makes sense. Being like son of Zeus, you could be an Andrew Tate.
I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just look. I don't really follow a lot of what he says. I just saw it, and I was like, you know what? This is a wild interaction, and I have to keep it for posterity. It's one of those things where, like, man, social media, it might be the death of us. I'm not kidding.
But it'll be a fun death.
True. We'll get memes out of it. Hey, thanks for calling in again, man.
The other thing is, Malifaux's better.
Okay. Bye-bye. Malifaux, for those of you who don't know, is a tabletop miniatures kind of skirmish game. It's all right. It's all right. Okay. It's almost 8 o'clock. Do we have anything from have the people trying to get in here? Let me see if I can't directly help them. I don't know who they actually are. Oh, you know what? If you are okay, so I see your problem, Frundo. We have a lock that you have to have had a Discord for more than like a certain period of time. So if you didn't have a Discord before today, that might be why it's not letting you in. Because we've had issues in the past of server being raided by people, bots, all these things. So we had to, unfortunately, put some measures in place. And that was one of those measures that we put in place. And sorry. If you've had it for a couple of years, I don't know what to tell you. I'm clicking on your name right now to give you the role, and it says that I don't have access to this user. And that's a problem on your end, not mine. Because I can click other people's names and give them any role I like. But for whatever reason, I can't on yours. You can't whitelist individuals? Well, that's what I was just trying to do, Luminez. But it won't let me. You have a problem with your end too? Yeah? Okay. Hello.
Hey,
What's up?
hello. Nothing much here. Let me mute the Twitch stream real fast. Hey everybody, how you doing? How you doing, Wick? You happy for Thanksgiving?
You know,
You ex-
I'm just happy that it's Thanksgiving. I get to spend some time with my family, get to eat some turkey. You know, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm pretty excited too. I just got into town. I'm supposed to see my family. We actually are having Thanksgiving at my brother's apartment this year, so it's a shakeup. The holidays are changing. They're changing in big ways for us.
Really? How so? What's difference between your holidays this year but and the other years that you've had holidays?
Location mostly, and the fact that, and this has been coming for a long time, but I come from a big family. I have lots of brothers and sisters, and so for a long time the dynamic of what it meant to go to the family Thanksgiving is it was mom and dad and all the kids, and then you had a couple uncles that would come by with their and the grandma would come by on some occasions. That's
Do you have
kind of
any
what it was like, right?
crazy relatives that you fear coming by?
That I fear coming by.
Yeah, that you're like, oh no, it's Aunt Lydia again. She's gonna go off about the gays, and right? You know what I mean?
Listen, I suspect that politics will be a topic this Thanksgiving, and I'm trying to think about how to handle that. That's going to be
Handle it like a
interesting for us
WIC
to talk about.
TV debate. Just call them a slur,
Okay.
right? And then kick them out. Obviously.
I don't know that I can do that. Listen, first of all, it's
Yes,
my brother's
you can. I
apartment,
believe in
okay?
you. Women can do it just as much as men. Like, women are
Interesting.
great at slurs, okay?
Okay.
I'll
I
help
just
you
started dropping
practice in
slurs.
DMs
Like,
later, right? We can
okay.
practice. But, yeah,
Okay.
if they piss you off, call them a slur. Pick your favorite. And
I
then
don't know.
just kick them out. Yeah, it's fun. Nothing will go wrong.
Listen, I don't know that me dropping a bunch of hard F-bombs in my
Is that
brother's
your slur?
apartment.
Is that your slur of choice, the F slur? We now know a little more about Fairy Queen than we did before again.
Listen, I think if I'm going to say anything, I don't really like racial slurs, but if I was going to say a slur, it probably would be the F slur out of any slur.
Noted.
I would say.
Not down with the racial slurs, but down with the sexuality slurs. Gotcha.
Fuck you. Okay.
I'm not. Look, I didn't make you say this. This is something I'm pressuring you to do. This is something you decided to say on live TV. But go ahead.
Listen. Okay. Well, then why don't you listen? I only feel it's fair. Okay. What's your favorite slur then?
Retarded.
Okay. So you see, right? Oh, so it's only the able-minded people, okay?
Yes.
That you care about. Is that right? Okay.
Unironically.
What do you mean unironically? You don't care about people who are disabled?
I do, but I don't treat them the same because they're disabled.
Okay, we need to be careful about this.
No. Why should we treat like they have special needs that they need accommodations for, so we treat them differently. That's the kind thing to do. That's the proper thing to do. That's what we should do. Trying to treat them as someone who is fully there is a problem. Someone with schizophrenia should be treated differently than someone without it.
I mean, I think it kind of depends though, right? Like if we're talking about somebody that's actively having an episode, or somebody that's not on medication, or if we're talking about a situation like that, for sure, right? Of course, you don't treat the person that's actively having a delusion in the parking lot the same way. But that's not what I mean, right? If you're talking about a person, right? They're on their meds, they're okay. I'm not going to treat that person
Sure.
in the living room.
If they were able to, if medication helps them be normal, then yes, I'll treat them normally.
Okay. Okay, next question. So you're
Okay.
excited for Thanksgiving.
Done with the
Do you like
slurs?
Thanksgiving?
Okay,
Do you
cool.
actually like Thanksgiving?
I do actually.
You do actually. Okay.
Yes, I do
you-
actually like sitting down with people and eating a meal, and it being a huge big meal. Obviously I don't like it so much if it's people I don't like, right? But I happen to like my family, so
Oh, well, how nice for you, okay? How snobby of you,
I'm
rubbing
privileged.
it in
I
all of
know.
our faces, okay? Didn't you read, earlier, like here, I'll send you like some things about how, like we're all abused leftists, with daddy issues. And here you are, talking about
Man,
your
look, a
fine
lot of people who
family,
have look, I'll say this brave stance here.
Okay.
There are people who are genuinely their family is abusive towards them, and that's terrible, and that shouldn't happen. But there's a lot of people who are treated bad by their family because they treat their family badly because they're assholes.
Yeah, that is definitely true for sure. Yeah.
And a lot of people will say, my mom and dad abused me, right? And they kicked me out when I was 25 years old, right? Because I kept calling them fascists, and they kept charging me rent to stay in there on their couch, right? Like those fascist, abusive parents of mine. Like, okay, gang.
And then they're going to say this over Thanksgiving with their paper plate, their peanut style Thanksgiving as they're eating like popcorn, Okay, here's the next Thanksgiving question. What do you make anything for Thanksgiving?
Depends on the year. Usually my go-to when I'm asked to is I make mayo turkey.
You make mayo turkey for the sandwiches. Is that why? Like you make the left
just
like
for the turkey. The turkey we eat is a mayo turkey.
a mayo turkey. Like,
Do you
is this
not
a
know what a
brand?
mayo turkey is?
Okay, it's either you're going to tell me that I'm assuming one of the few things are going to happen. One, it's mayo turkey, so it's the brand mayo.
No.
Two, you mean mayonnaise with turkey, in which case I think you're saying to me that you take the turkey, you bake it, and you cut it up with mayonnaise.
Preparing turkey that uses mayo, where you take mayo and it's a mix, right? So you put other things in it too, right? It's not just mayo. There's like seasons and stuff, and different people do it different ways, but you put it all together. You lather the turkey. First, you dry the turkey off. You pat it dry, right? Then you lather the turkey inside and out. You got to get in there, right? You got to get in there and just
Stop it. No.
move around, get it nice and moist,
You
okay? You lather it with mayo, okay? You lather it with
What?
mayo, the spice mayo, all these things, right? It's a real thing. No, I'm being dead serious. It's the best turkey you've ever had. You put it in the oven, you cook it, and what it does is it allows the skin to be crisp because of the oils while still remaining juicy and tender in the meat itself. So you get the best of both worlds. It's delicious. There's science behind it. It's a thing. And if you've never had mayo turkey, you're missing out.
I feel like somebody at some point needs to do a stream, and it would have to be somebody with like a huge kitchen who's like stupid rich, but somebody that gets like just like 12 turkeys. I mean, like an absurd amount of turkeys, and then cooks them like 12 different ways, and then does like a blind taste test to see what actually is the superior Thanksgiving turkey. People get into fights at Thanksgiving over how to cook their turkey. Okay, here, I'll tell you this one Thanksgiving story. I know you're at 8, and I know you're tired, and I know you need to go to bed soon, but I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this one story soon. So there was this one Thanksgiving. Okay, my mom makes a beautiful turkey. Okay, it's like something out of a Norman Rockwell poster. Okay, golden skin, the stuffing, it's on the plate.
I want to see it. I want to see the stuffed turkey that your mom stuffed. Send me a pic later. Okay, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. Well, but like, right. So this is her turkey, the Norman Rockwell, right? The really classic turkey that she makes, right? And then my uncle came by. Okay, my uncle wanted to prep turkey. Okay, my uncle did not want to do the Norman Rockwell turkey. My uncle wanted to deep fry the turkey in a giant like turkey fryer on the sidewalk, right? And he wanted to talk. And they both, there was this big argument about like, well, not really an argument. It's kind of silly mostly, but like what turkey is actually going to taste better. And I'll tell you something, okay? Like he dipped it into the turkey fryer outside and it looked burnt black, okay? I mean, it looked like it survived a really horrible war zone once we brought it back, okay? But it actually tasted better. It actually did taste better than my mom's carefully prepared Norman Rockwell turkey. So don't let appearances deceive you, friends that are watching, okay? Sometimes the uglier turkey is, in fact, the better tasting turkey. And that is the lesson of Thanksgiving.
Wait. I'm not sure why you're bringing up this kind of like ugly duckling story about turkeys when you're on my channel.
Well, it's a
What are you trying
moral.
to say? Exactly.
I'm trying to say it's the moral of the story, okay? And the moral
I'm
of the story
I'm a
is
good-looking turkey, okay? I'm not deep fried. I'm not black, crisp, right? I'm not
I'm not
air
saying
fried.
anything about
Okay?
you. We're talking about turkeys. We're only talking
Yeah.
about turkeys.
Is this what we're
We're
doing?
not talking
Okay.
about metaphorical turkeys.
Oh,
We're talking
okay.
about real turkeys. That's what we're talking about. The real
Look,
turkey.
presentation is important when in food prep and things like that. However, it is not the end all be all, and I agree with you that sometimes it doesn't look good, but it tastes delicious. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fry
exactly.
mayo turkey sometime. Will you commit to that?
I you know what? Because I believe in my philosophy, I will try mayo turkey, okay?
Beautiful. Okay.
I will indeed.
Yeah, you
All
got
right.
it done right. But for now, I'm gonna let you go. Okay.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye. Wade.
Bye-bye. Okay. He's a mayo turkey. Okay, first of all, no, it doesn't taste like mayo, right? The flavor cooks off. The mayo cooks off. It's done. I'm sure some of the spices and stuff seep in a little bit, right? But it doesn't taste like mayo. Again, what it's there for is to add slight flavor, but mostly it's to, again, change the dynamics of how it cooks. And it's delicious. If you never had it, you're missing out. Get to these last callers. Hello. You're live.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, what's up?
Anything in particular on your mind these days?
Yo, man, like my mind has like 20 different things on it. Do you have a specific thing that you wanted to talk about?
No, not in particular. Just kind of wanted to see where you've been and what your headspace has been like lately, honestly.
So like right now, again, I'm just trying to make sure Thanksgiving goes okay. Right? Like that's always a thing. And just making sure I got content for you guys. And I've been prepping different shows, different topics. Make sure you guys have something to watch, right?
What you got lined up for us?
Tomorrow we're gonna have a show on social media. That should be fun. There will be no stream on Thursday. I will be eating turkey with my family. And on Friday, I will be going on to Admiral Gibbs' show to talk about tariffs.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for checking in, man.
Oh, okay. We'll talk later then.
We will. Bye-bye. Hello, you're live.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What's up?
Oh, I called in yesterday, and you had
I
challenged
remember.
me to find an instance of Fred Weinstein doing a public apology. So I came back with that, but I wasn't sure really where to link it to you. And I saw you're doing a call-in
Yeah,
show, so I
you
thought
could just DM it to me, or you could just tell me about it right now.
okay. So you can go on Wikipedia right now and see in one of the links down below. It says on the Dark Horse podcast, episode 94, he was issuing a correction and an apology for using a study that he didn't deem credible after the fact. It's citation number 57, and it links to a YouTube video, and you can like watch him do the correction slash apology.
Okay.
It's up to you to determine whether or not you think it's an actual apology, because
Here's
it's
what
mostly
he's
him saying
referring
it's a
to, gang.
correction.
I have it on my screen. It says event occurs at 29:55 because it reported 100% success at preventing COVID in those who were treated. It does have some impact on the question. Is there a prophylactic protocol that would be so highly effective? We have to assume the answer is no until we see evidence otherwise. Initially, when I spoke of this study, I described it as suggesting there was an ivermectin protocol that was 100% effective. That was never implied by the study because the study was a combination of ivermectin and carrageen. And now at this point, I would say no weight should be given to the study at all. There you go.
I'm not sure if that changes your opinion at all of it.
I don't
but
have strong opinions on Brett Weinstein. It was
Okay.
not Will Stansel. I'm sorry, Trace that was using him as an example.
Yeah, and I know he does like hundreds of podcasts, and they're all hours long. So I've heard personally other corrections slash apologies. It's just hard to come up with stuff on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you, and I understand, right? Like, but I think that like if you're gonna make claims, it's helpful to have something, right? I don't need like a 10-page report, but just an example is fine. I'm pretty good with going with what you got, right? As long as it sounds reasonable, I'll be like, okay, it sounds reasonable. Especially if I'm not familiar with the subject, and but yeah, no, thanks for calling in and giving me that example. It is helpful, and I'm glad that you followed up on it. How's your day otherwise? Are you got a good Thanksgiving coming up?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna drive and have Thanksgiving with the parents. It's gonna be
Beautiful.
nice. We're gonna have a meetup with you know, relatives and family.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, thanks for calling in, buddy.
You too, and I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving as well.
I will do my best. I'll see you later. What a pleasant caller. Okay, we got one more caller. Then we're gonna end the stream, I think. Okay. Bring in the last caller. Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hi.
So the topic I wanted to discuss was, I think this was about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. Last time I called in, I asked you like when do you start breaking rules politically? Um on the like Democrat side,
Okay.
even if everything that they're doing is quote unquote technically legal, like let's say he does Trump does his mass deportation plan, right? I
Mhm.
think that tariffs are that's probably all legal, so we won't do much about them. But let's say he does his mass deportation plan and just starts denaturalizing in this theoretical world. Do we start breaking rules then? Or what do you think?
So, by his mass deportation plan, do you mean he goes and he rounds up illegal immigrants and he just ships them out of the country? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like he get the concentration camps, ICE facilities or whatever
Okay, if he's
he
using
creates in the place.
concentration camps to do it, obviously we do something then. But if he's just shipping them out of the country, I don't know if that's the time to take up arms.
Well, how else is he gonna? What if the illegal immigrants were gonna refuse to leave? Because that's gonna happen, right? How else is he gonna do it? He's gonna literally put them in jail, in like internment camps or whatever. Maybe not straight up like concentration,
Well, I
feed
don't
them
I don't
like give them
think
no food,
I
but
don't think jail's concentration camps though, right? I don't think they're the same.
concentration was the wrong word. Internment camp could be the more
Okay.
correct word.
I don't like, so for example, if you break the law, I'm okay with you going to jail, right? I am okay with them
Yes.
putting you in like a jail. Like if you have someone who is an illegal immigrant and they have broken the law, which they have, and they decide to deport them, I'm okay with them being deported. However, I think that there are certain ways that Trump can do it, which I would be vehemently opposed to, right? One of those ways is if he tries to use the military or the National Guard, to force a city, a sanctuary city, right? That says, hey, we're just not gonna hand over our illegals to you. Then I would be opposed to it on a whole bunch of grounds. I think states' rights are important. I think local rights are important. And I would be against using the military or the National Guard to enforce something like that. There would be some things I'd be okay with the National Guard enforcing, like, for example, integrating the school system. But when it comes to like deporting grandma, no, probably not.
Okay, so then you would, but let's say it's all legal. The
But
Supreme
I
Court
like
like allows him to do it.
even then, I don't think we should take up arms. I think that's a bad idea.
So even if they start deporting grandma, you wouldn't take up arms?
No.
Okay. So what if they start denaturalizing like
Like, what do you mean
legal immigrants or
denaturalize?
the Stephen Miller's plan, which was to denaturalize specific citizens who were like under temporary protective status, or not citizens but immigrants who aren't you know what I mean, like long form. They have a long standing like H-1B visas and all that, etc. Like all those systems that are in place for temporary protected status people or people who have a permanent residency. That's the right word. And they start denaturalizing all those people, and then they start deporting them too. You still wouldn't take up arms?
Would you?
I think so, yes, because I have family members where that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also heard other things about like, well, maybe you should report people who voted for Trump or whatever, who are like or have family members that are illegals.
Yeah, we had a show on that. That was crazy. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
I was like, don't do that. That would be insane. I saw part of that show. I was like, no, that's crazy. But one of the things I was talking about, like, because I wanted to get your thoughts on this, is like, when do you break rules, right? And so taking up arms, I think that's so. What would be your limit, essentially? When?
Well, I think that at a certain point where we have exhausted all other options, so we have tried the legal route, we've tried the peaceful route, protests, all those things have been tried over and over and over again, and they are literally ignoring the Constitution and engaging in violence against the citizenry of their country, right? Or people within their country. Unjustified violence. And again, we've tried all the other routes. We can't get those routes. And when I'm talking about violence, I mean like literally like shooting them or beating them up. I'm not talking about like, I don't know. I don't know. The thing about the illegal immigrants is they're illegal. They have broken the law.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I don't know if I agree with the kind of like over the top nature of enforcement, but it's not out of the realm of possibility to want to enforce the law. If we think the law is wrong, we should change that law.
Okay. So have you heard of Stephen? Did you see his draft plan?
I did not see his draft plan, so I can't speak to that.
Okay, so I'll give you like a brief summary. His plan is like, so states like Texas are already planning to do the mass deportation. They already like have got land and real estate, and they've integrated ICE agents, etc., with local law enforcement. And the plan is to basically get the National Guard of a bunch of red states, and push them into like blue states or use them against blue states like sanctuary cities to like enforce the illegal immigration deportation. There's more legalese around it, but I gave you like the brief summary. And people say it's going to get blocked in the courts, but if it goes to the Supreme Court, I'm not sure how they're going to rule on that, because like you said before, the segregation stuff.
Well,
they
can we agree?
program.
Can we agree? Taking up arms before the Supreme Court has ruled on it is probably a bad idea.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a bad idea.
Taking up arms before they have tried to implement this plan, also a bad idea. Yeah.
Yes, that would be a bad idea.
Taking up arms if there's no chance of success, also a bad idea?
Also a bad idea, yes.
Okay, great. So we can imagine that taking up arms in this situation is probably something we shouldn't do.
Yeah, if it doesn't go through, if it's not successful. If the National Guard
even if it
isn't
is,
like invaded.
if you aren't going to stop the National Guard is what I'm saying. Like if it goes, even if you vehemently oppose it morally, the National Guard will win. They will beat you. You have no hope of success.
Even if they beat me, I would still take up arms. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because I would still defend like certain aspects of states' rights and
please don't do
amendments. And why would you say no?
Because I don't want you to die.
You say that, but I think it's also the moral aspect around it that like I can't imagine that I watch a bunch of people get deported, right? And with National Guard in the streets, and me just like, oh yeah, willy nilly, I just did nothing.
Look, there's like a wide variety of options that you have that do not involve violence in these situations. You can hide them if you'd like, right? Find some, hide them, put them in your attic or in your basement or whatever, right?
Oh yeah, that was option 1. But I'm saying option 2 is if they're literally like going into my house and knocking on doors and they're trying to like they're searching through my attic.
If ICE came in, you have illegals in your attic, okay? And ICE breaks down the door or has a warrant. They come with a warrant saying, "Hey, we know you have illegals in the attic, and we're going to take them and deport them." You would fight them? You would fight ICE?
Yeah, I would fight ICE at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I would literally risk my life at that point because it's
Really?
more about the beliefs than just saving my own skin. Like, you think when like the German citizens, when the Jews were getting deported, you think they should not have fought back?
Well, they were being put into death camps. So yes,
That was not
That-
the first plan, though. The first plan was the Madagascar plan. They were not initially put in death camps, the Jews, during that time.
man, look, you know what? The risk of it was so great that I think that they should have fought back. And again, like the problem with fighting back though is it's used as a weapon against you in a lot of cases, right? Like so Crystal Knocked was done because at least the the inciting incident that was claimed, whether this is true or not, right, is that there was a Jewish kid that shot an ambassador to France, to Paris. And that was the inciting incident. And it was used against the Jews to paint them as violent and extremists and all these things. Now, would it have stopped anything if they hadn't given their excuse? Probably not, because of what we know going forward. But here's the thing, like, I just don't foresee an outcome where you can stop it from happening. And also, I don't foresee an outcome where they get put into death camps. I think they just get deported. And that's not something worth dying for.
Okay, let's say, well, they have to put them in.
Well, do you think, no,
first.
for real quick, do you think that they're going to go and be killed in these camps, these internment camps, concentration camps?
No, but I think
Do you
there's
think they're
civil
going to be,
liberties will be
they're
violated.
going to be like raped or anything or like violated?
Possibly. Depends on the
You really
conditions
think
in the
that?
camp. It depends on the conditions in the camp. If it like, so for instance, okay, what's that called? Like, I think prison labor is possible. Like, it's on the list, possibly. They might use them for like free labor because a lot of the private prisons, their stock prices are like skyrocketing right now. So I think that's possible. I don't think they're gonna get like killed in these camps though. Like, I don't think it's gonna be a genocide or any of that crazy stuff.
Okay.
But I think abuse of civil rights and liberties is 100%. Yeah, I think that's gonna happen. Yeah. Maybe
I
not
just-
like, it's not gonna be like super intense, I don't think, but like there's gonna be like a certain percentage of them that will be, they're gonna get
I think
hurt
we
and
can
stuff.
we can just cede to that. There will be a certain percentage who bad things happen to them while they're waiting to be deported. Yes, that's true.
Like the child separation stuff that happened last time.
Yeah,
in
that's bad.
2017.
I don't think anyone
Yeah,
should.
I think that's gonna happen.
I don't
Like
think
something like
anyone should take up arms about that. No, that shouldn't result in a gunfight because they did that. That was bad. We agree. That was bad. But no one.
Yeah, but
no one
it's
should
gonna be on a bigger
pulling
mass
out
scale
some
now.
pistols and start blasting, right?
Okay, maybe not like exactly like if they just show up and you just like on your neighborhood and you just start shooting at them. But I'm saying if they're gonna start doing the mass deportations and there's gonna be a lot of them, like a lot of people getting deported, and you see this problem, then yeah, I would protect. Okay, option number one is I would obviously hide them in the attic, and then when they come in, option number two, and they start deporting out millions of people, then we take up arms. That's what I'm saying. It depends on the extent. So if they're not gonna knock down the doors, then no, I'm not gonna take up
I
arms.
don't think we should be fighting for illegal like immigrants, like literally like gun battles for illegal immigrants. I just don't. Look, I'm with you. We should have a bet. Like, I don't like the mass deportation option. I think it's cruel. I think it's ineffective. I don't think it'll work. I think it's going to be a lot of problems, and there's going to be abuses about that. But I don't think it rises to the level of we should take up arms to oppose it, because I don't think anyone's going to die over it. I don't think it's a life or limb situation, and I think any kind of violations of civil rights will be muted. They will happen. That's why I oppose it, right? But like I said, because a civil rights violation happens does not mean death should be on the line, right? So if I was discriminated against, okay, If one day a law came out saying no wicks out on the street after 9 p.m., crazy, right? A violation of my rights. It's not okay. Please don't take up arms for me. Please don't rebel against the government for me. Please don't try to shoot people for me, right? There are other avenues to address it.
Okay, that's interesting because when they're jailing these illegal immigrants, and let's say there's other citizens who get in the way, right? Because it's not just going to be me. I'm certain of that.
I
And then
don't.
the
I'm going to
National
make this
Guard.
prediction right now. It doesn't result in substantive a number of gunfights.
Maybe not gunfights. Okay, maybe we don't go as far as
Violence.
okay, yeah, violence,
Physical violence. I don't think
physical violence,
there's a
and
lot of that.
they start hurting citizens who are protecting illegals, like the Nazis were hurting citizens who were protecting the Jews, right? Then do you start breaking rules? Like,
No,
at
if
what
they're
point?
like torturing people in the streets and like beating them up, then you try to protect those people, right? Like look, again, if there's a situation where they're like literally putting on trains to go to the death camps, then yes, take up arms, do what you need to do, right? When if they're stripping your right to vote, and you're a natural born citizen, you're a legal citizen, right? You've gone through the immigration process, you've done all those things. And now they're taking away your rights and imprisoning you with no trial, no justice, then that might be the time. But like the thing about the illegal immigrants is they're illegal, right? They broke the law. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, technically, like during segregation, it was breaking the law too, right? During that time.
Yes, but I don't have a problem with immigration laws. I do have a problem with segregation laws. I think segregation laws were immoral. I don't think immigration laws are necessarily immoral. I think it's okay to have a process that you have to go by to get into a country and to live there and work there. I think that it's in the country's interest to have such a policy. We can quibble on what that policy should look like. That's fine, right? I would probably prefer a more open route to citizenship than a lot of Republicans would. However, I think that the idea that we do have some policies and we enforce those policies is a good law. And I think that like if you break the law and you get deported, I think that's not necessarily an immoral thing. I don't think it's necessarily wrong.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I think it depends on the situation. Obviously, if they've like done like violent crimes or like are gang members, I would be inclined to believe that. But if they're just like a agricultural worker
So
or whatever,
a
yeah.
guy comes in, right? He overstays his visa. Okay, he has a visa to a work visa for I don't know a month. Okay, and he's like at the end of that month, the law is okay. Now you have to leave the country. You've come here. You've worked for a month. We've given you a work visa. Your time is up. You either have to apply to extend it or you have to leave the country. And they decide, you know what? Nah, I don't care. I'm just going to stay. What are they going to do? Deport me? I think it's okay if that person gets deported. What is wrong with that?
Okay,
like
I see.
from a conceptual point, right?
On a conceptual point, I think it's probably fine. But another issue is that they're so integrated into our economy and to our day-to-day life that I just think the damage and the hurt towards
No, sure.
everyday
I think it's going
citizens
to be
will
very
be
bad
more.
for the economy in a lot of ways. I agree with you. But that's not reason enough for me to take up a gun and start posting up in front of a window and taking shots at ICE as it comes to get the illegals that I have hidden in the basement, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just a fundamental disagreement.
Probably.
Because because the denaturalization part is another one that I would be like the next step. I think
I'd
if
have to look
you
into
don't take-
that, right? I don't
Yeah.
know exactly what you're referring to here, so I'd have to look into it more.
Yeah, it's Stephen Miller's plan.
Sure, I'll
he
check it
wrote
out.
a draft on it. Yeah, and I'm just worried that if you see too much ground to these things, then it'll just embolden them to go further and further. Like I don't like the idea of appeasement.
What do you think happens? What do you think happens if you get a bunch of people together, right? And you decide to have a shootout with the National Guard. Let's say you win for whatever reason, that battle, right? You win that battle. Suddenly you have a situation where you've killed a bunch of National Guard, okay? And you've segmented off a portion of the city that you're in, and you've won that battle. What happens next in your mind? What happens next?
Well, I'd probably get fucking killed, to be honest.
And what else? What else?
They'll probably they'll probably put more military or whatever, and they'll be harsher on that city or that area.
Yeah. That's exactly what will happen.
Yes, but I think it
And
could also embolden people to be.
A lot of people are going to do a lot worse to the immigrants and things like that because now they think, hey, these people are inspiring people to fucking mow down National Guard members.
Yeah, but
So now they're going to be treated as a threat.
Yeah, but that's the same thing that happened during the civil rights movement. There were black people. I forget all their organizations and their name. Like, was it Black Panthers or whatever? They were or Malcolm X's organization. They were attacking white police officers during that time too, and it also helped inspire more of the like Martin Luther King.
So we got
stuff.
Nixon out of that, and then we had years of Republican reign where they just were the worst.
Yeah, but you also got 3 civil rights bills and amendments.
Before all that. Before the Summer of Love or whatever, right? Well, there was one out. There was a few, right? It was a decades long thing, right? But I just like yes, but like you got to understand there are consequences to the actions, and some of these actions or some of these consequences weren't worth the action. Now like and also it comes down to they were fighting against what I feel were unjust laws, which is not the same when it comes to immigration laws. I don't think the immigration laws we have are perfect by any means, but I don't think they're fundamentally unjust in the same way the civil rights stuff was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I just disagree with you. Like, I think even if these laws are quote unquote more just, it's the actions I think that matter more. And I think I'm willing to like stand up and die for what I believe in to a certain point. Like there's some things where I think like even if you're gonna go down a martyr, that you do it anyway.
No, I would agree with you. There are certain situations where even if I know that I will not win, but I think standing up for the right thing is the right thing to do. But this is not one of those situations where I feel like we should take up arms against the federal government.
Okay. Yeah. I'll leave it at there.
Okay. Thanks for calling.
Yeah,
in,
but yeah, thanks.
Okay. Have a great day. Please don't take up arms against the federal government over illegal immigrants. We can oppose Trump's deportation plan. That's fair. We could say it's a bad plan. That's fair. We can oppose it legislatively. We could oppose it legally. We could oppose it on these merits. That's fine. But please, do not decide to get into a gun battle with ICE. You will only make things worse and get yourself hurt. I don't know what to tell you, gang. Okay. Oh man, we've had we've got run the gamut tonight. Okay, we've run the gamut. Um, thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out with me for an hour or two and talking the talk. Only get into a gun battle with stormtroopers because they can't hit you. Fair enough. Thanks for listening. I'm gonna end the stream, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. I guess. Bye bye.